Iowa Speedway. 300 laps at over 180 miles an hour.
Green, green, green. Josef Newgarden leads lap number 1.
Newgarden's car is so strong.
Newgarden could lap the field. There's the yellow.
Here we go. Dixon with a great run.
There goes Newgarden. Drop the hammer.
We got a battle for second.
Power slings around Scott Dixon.
Josef Newgarden has put on a driving clinic.
How about Ed Carpenter Racing? I mean, what a car they gave Newgarden.
Josef Newgarden wins in Iowa.
Oh, baby, that was good.
It's IndyCar from the heartland.
Green, green, green.
Will Power sitting on the front, followed by his teammate in both of the Carpenter cars.
Powers surrendered the lead to Elio Castroneves.
Castroneves is on pit lane.
Meanwhile, Marco Andretti is officially the leader, but effectively it's J.R. Hildebrand.
21 car ahead is the leader. Be you and Elio for the lead here.
And Elio back to the front, looking to win for the first time in over 3 years. Checkered flag.
Yes! I'm just going to excite the fans. It's been a long time. Woo!
300 laps around this 7/8 of a mile bull ring oval. The Iowa Speedway is tough enough, but then you've got the bumps, the high speed, and it forces the drivers to make moves, brave moves, that are quite exhilarating. So one thing that highlights package there shows us is that we're in for quite the race tomorrow, because history tells us that. And Will Power, with his 52nd career pole, puts him just one behind A.J. Foyt, the second all-time.
But that teammate, Josef Newgarden, with the #1, when he's had a sniff of the front this year, he has blown the doors off the rest of the field. He could be gone tonight.
What are we going to see, Paul? What are we going to see?
Well, look for Ed Carpenter. This is his last race of the year for him. He's going to push hard, but Tony Kanaan, also former winner here, he'll be on the high line on the restarts moving forward.
Spencer Pigot back on the 9th row. Zach Veach not starting where he would like to. And then, of course, the practice crash suffered by Matthias Leist made him just tiptoe around quite cautiously, and he will start back on row 11. So point scenario heading in to this 11th round. It's Scott Dixon boasting a very healthy 45-point margin over Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi. Josef Newgarden brings himself up into the top 4 with that win at Road America. So the stage is set. Qualifying complete, the race to come, and those 300 laps around the Iowa Speedway will be grueling, but they will be highly entertaining. For all the information about the series, you can always head to NBCSports.com as we congratulate the pole winner, pole sitter Will Power. We encourage you to stay with us, because the Iowa Corn 300 is coming up right now.
NBC Sports, the exclusive home of the Verizon IndyCar Series. And starting in 2019, the Indianapolis 500. Only on NBC Sports.
There's calmness about the cornfields of America's heartland, but that rural peace gets a little more rowdy today as IndyCars traveling at more than 180 miles per hour rip around this short track that is Iowa Speedway. This relatively young facility that sees weather extremes in both summer and winter is aging with character that offers plenty of challenges for those behind the wheel. And that's what the craftsmen who created this place had envisaged when they dared to dream. Scott Dixon comes to Iowa in good spirits and with a healthy championship lead. He also has the goal to win the fight at this bull ring. That's something he's never done. Reigning series champion Josef Newgarden is riding high. The Road America winner did what he said he would and got his #1 team back on track as he attempts to, in his own words, defend the one. His Penske teammate Will Power scored a 3rd Iowa pole position yesterday and, like Dixon, is trying to win here for the first time. That would help erase the memories of a non-finish 2 weeks ago. While Ryan Hunter-Reay feels right at home in corn country. He may not be from here, but he has made this place his. 3 times a winner here, and today, nobody would be surprised if he makes it 4. Welcome to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon, where we get you geared up for 300 dizzying laps of Iowa Speedway. Can't stress enough what a beautiful day it is. Cloudless skies, 80 degrees, there's a light breeze and humidity is low. To be honest, it is the perfect day to go racing. Hi folks, Lee Diffie with you here just outside of Des Moines, Iowa, getting ready for round 11 of the 2018 Verizon IndyCar Series. We arrive here at a very interesting stage because 2 weeks ago in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, it was the 4-mile monster that is Road America. You transition here to the smallest track on the calendar at 7/8 of a mile, and just next week we travel north of the border to Toronto, Canada, to those very busy streets. And that just underscores that if you do become a Verizon IndyCar Series champion, you have well and truly earned it due to the diversity of tracks. You really have to show your skill. And speaking of winning championships, that's something that Scott Dixon has done 4 times in this series. And he boasts a very healthy championship lead coming into Iowa. So the Iceman is feeling really good. Can he get his first win here today? And speaking of winning, that's something that Andretti Autosport has done well and truly here in Iowa. They've won. The team has won 7 of the 11 times. Don't be surprised if Michael's men win again. However, they've got to get past Roger's men, Roger Penske's men, that is, because Team Penske locks out the front row. Will Power, Josef Newgarden, and Team Penske, that's the 4th front row lockout and the 3rd in a row. Now, Dixon at the top. He was able to grow his lead courtesy of a fine podium finish at Road America 2 weeks ago. Let's remind you of what went down in Wisconsin. This is Road America. 4+ miles of front row seats to take in this summer classic. Let's go racing in Wisconsin at Road America. What is up with Will Power's car?
We're wrong with the engine. It's not running right. I don't think the engine's going to go. What do I do?
Horrible start for Power. He's lost 6, 7 positions, more positions, 9, 10.
It's a boost issue. He did shut the engine off, did not sound a full song when it came to pit road. Early exit, it looks like, for Will Power.
It is amazing how quickly it swings, but that means it can swing back the other way.
Something may be wrong with Alexander Rossi.
Here, copy something. Copy that. Any idea what? The steering is left hand down by a lot.
Looking at steering again.
It looks like the camber shim, so it's like those came loose.
It is very clear-cut up front, isn't it? What a day. What a day for the one team from Team Penske and Josef Newgarden. Josef Newgarden wins the Cola Grand Prix to get back in this championship chase. All right, looking closer at that championship, and I mentioned that Dixon had a healthy margin. It's 45 points back to the Andretti guys, Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi. The reason why RHR is in second is he's had more second places than Alexander Rossi. But look a little further down. Simon Pagenaud has really worked hard to get himself back into the top 10. And Graham Rahal has been kind of the quiet achiever there, maintaining a top 6 position. But let's put the spotlight on the series leader. That's Scott Dixon. He's standing by with Jan Beekes. Jan?
Yes, and he just saw on paper that 45-point lead. That has got to feel good, but that doesn't change the way you approach things when it comes to risk and reward in the race.
No, it's just another race, right? And it pays the same amount of points, outside of Sonoma and Indianapolis. So we just got to... qualifying was, I think a little bit better than maybe we expected as far as, one of the few teams that didn't test here. Limited practice time. So, yeah, you got to go for as much as you can. We're fighting, obviously, for the win today. The PNC Bank car felt pretty good on the long runs. We'll just have to see how it plays out, with the lifting that you're able to do and how good the fuel mileage is going to be today, man, you can go a long way on a set of tires.
Are you somewhat surprised? You said you were encouraged by your qualifying. You did not test here. Many other teams did. Could that be an issue in the race, or you feel like you have a good race handle as well?
That's what we have to wait and see. We didn't get to put a lot of miles in around here. It's always tough. I was a tough race. It's one of the most fun you can have in an IndyCar, especially, on such a short track, high banks, the high speed, almost 190 miles an hour around this place. So it's definitely a lot of fun, but, it can change quickly, and especially on a long run. You could start off really good and 40 laps in you can be really struggling. So we'll definitely have to be working on the car a lot today, I think, especially as the track heats up, but I expect hopefully the number 9 is going to be good.
All right, Katie, and of course one thing about Scott Dixon, he always seems to be in the mix.
Well, Jan, Will Power has experienced the full racing roller coaster from winning the Indianapolis 500, mechanical problems in Road America, now the pole here. Will, how do you keep on this upswing today?
Yeah, that's what we need to do. You got to be in traffic within 10 laps, so it's great starting at the front, but it's going to be about working out how to keep a good balance through the tire degradation, because the track's quite abrasive, so the tires drop a lot, and you got to be able to run multiple lanes. So I felt pretty good last night, made a few changes, and I think we're kind of in a good window.
And Kevin, he starts from the pole for the 52nd time today.
Well, rookie Robert Wickens has impressed us all season. He has led all 3 ovals that he's raced on, so how does this one compare?
I didn't know that stat, so hopefully we can keep that going. No, that'd be cool. You know, we're starting 7th today. I'm shocked that we're even in the top 10 because this place has been very foreign to me. I mean, there's so many different line variances, and I thought I was kind of getting to grips with the ovals, and then coming here, it just blew it wide open, and I realized actually how unexperienced I am on these things. So it's been a learning curve, but the team's been great. They've been coaching me along. I think every lap I'm on the radio with the driver coach more than the spotter through free practice, is trying to try different lines, drive it in harder, you know, etc. So now we're going to be relying more on the spotters, but, you know, I think it's going to be a fun day. Hopefully we can stay on the lead lap and try to get a good result in the end.
Still 7th in the championship, but a couple of races, St. Pete and Texas, where you were taken out, didn't score points. Do you wonder what might have been if you could finish those races?
Well, you're a competitor. You're always going to wonder what might have been. You know, there was also Long Beach where we had a gearbox issue where we were running in podium contention there as well. So, you know, I'm happy to still be competitive week in, week out, and I think eventually our luck's going to swing, and hopefully once we get these good results going, we can try close off the year in style. But, you know, for the most part, I think it's been a pretty good rookie season so far.
Diff, I think it'll be fun to watch this young man figure this track out today.
Kev, I thought one of his interesting things was he says Iowa Speedway is blowing his mind. Paul Tracy, Townsend Bell, NBC Sports IndyCar experts are here again. Guys, I want to turn back to Scott Dixon just for a moment with that impressive championship lead. This is his 18th year in open wheel racing at this level, so he brings with him a wealth of experience, 4 championships in Indy 500. But I think, Townsend, what impresses me the most is nothing seems to faze Scott, and you can never discount him, ever.
Well, chew on this for a second, Diff. 45-point lead in the championship for Scott Dixon. We talked about that already. With 7 races to go, nobody has ever lost the IndyCar championship with that kind of lead. And if you had to pick a driver that has a steady hand on a tiller, it's Scott Dixon. In stormy conditions, he's as stable as ever. I've raced against him for 19 years, and he's been like that the whole time. He's a machine. And, Paul, at this point, I don't know how you beat this guy.
Well, there's certainly 4 or 5 guys that want to beat him very badly, but he's a guy that nobody really gives a hard time. You never see him get into conflict with other drivers. You never see him banging wheels with guys like Rossi. He's treated kind of like the patron of the peloton. It's like he's in control of everybody, but certainly this championship's not over.
He has got muscled by his team owner, Chip Ganassi, before, as we just saw. So if that happens again, who knows? But this is a place that has had Scott Dixon's number. Maybe up until today, we'll see what he can do. And how about this man, Alexander Rossi? He's been a featured driver this year. Will he feature again today? Not sure, but we'll hear from him when we come back.
You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon, the best network and the best unlimited.
On a ride around Iowa Speedway with Ed Carpenter, of course, owner of Ed Carpenter Racing, who has made some great highlights here at Iowa Speedway. I think back to 2016, Josef Newgarden, he had a car that everyone said, man, I wish we had that setup. Does that setup sheet help you at all with this new aero kit?
Some things have carried over, but it's definitely a little different now with this new aero configuration. You know, we're down over 1,000 pounds of downforce from those days, from qualifying anyway. So some things carry over in principle, but we've definitely had to make adjustments. And there's been times this weekend where I thought we have had a really good car. Last night the session wasn't quite as good, but I think we have a pretty decent handle on what we did wrong there. So hopefully we'll be able to stay up front all day and, you know, be good on long runs. I think that's really where you're going to see guys separate themselves from the rest of the pack.
All right, Ed Carpenter going back to an earlier setup that they had in qualifying, hoping for more in the race.
And Ed is carrying our Verizon streaming camera today. You can go inside IndyCar all season long by downloading IndyCar Mobile, exclusively from Verizon, America's best streaming network. Now, we mentioned a little earlier in the show, if you're looking for a team that can succeed here at Iowa Speedway, all you got to do is look at the history books. It is Andretti Autosport. They have had an amazing performance here over the years, winning 7 of the 11. There's Dario Franchitti, the 3-time series champ. He won. So too did his good friend Tony Kanaan. The list goes on. Marco Andretti, he was victorious here in the Heartland. And so too was James Hinchcliffe back in that very memorable GoDaddy car. But if you're looking at an Andretti driver who has dominated, it is Captain America, Ryan Hunter-Reay. He has won 3 of the last 6 years. It has been an amazing performance from Ryan. And still talking about Andretti Autosport drivers, in particular Alexander Rossi. He burst onto the American scene by winning the 100th Indianapolis 500. That box was checked. However, now he's blazing his way to a potential championship victory, and he's doing it in a forceful way.
Wow. Look at Wiggins trying to challenge Rossi. Rossi having none of that, and that's what I was talking about. Elbows out today.
Elbows out like St. Pete. He just muscled Wiggins off the track.
Sato on the outside, which is the wrong side at 5, but he's going to have a go at it anyway. Around the outside of Alexander Rossi. Does it come off? Yes, it does.
Rossi fights back up the hill. He's going to stuff it in here.
Side by side, Sato and Rossi.
What a pass.
Got pushed off by Rossi at a 6 there, which I thought was a little rude.
I'm surprised the steward didn't take any action. I'm okay with the side-by-side by all means, but just don't touch me.
So that's what the other drivers had to say about Rossi. This is what Rossi has to say, period. I'm here to win races and win a championship. This isn't a friend competition. This isn't a buddy-buddy type of thing. I'm happy to be friends with them off the track and when we take our helmets off. But once the race starts, unless you're a teammate of mine, I'm not here to do anyone any favors. How about that, Kev? That's pretty straightforward.
It has been interesting to watch this develop. All right, you've answered this question many times. You have no regrets with the way you've handled things. Robbie disagrees a little bit. Do we have a rivalry brewing?
You guys would love that, wouldn't you?
It's fun.
Rob and I are really good friends, man. We have a lot of respect for each other. We disagree on something on the track, but it doesn't really change anything the way that I'm going to race him. I don't think it's going to change the way he races me. And, hopefully we can both be on the podium here today. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be a great show this afternoon.
You were fun to watch in the final practice. Very racy. What did you learn?
Learned a lot. I mean, I think the Napa Andretti Honda has been strong on short ovals so far this year. It was strong, really, when we rolled off. We missed seeing single lap pace for some reason for a little bit. I don't know whether that's me or the setup that we have, but when we put it into a race environment and we got to do a lot of laps, it's a pretty good car. So hopefully that remains the same today and we can execute and close the gap up to Scott a little bit.
Lee, keep an eye on this guy. I've had a couple of the fast guys tell me Alexander Rossi is one of the two to watch.
Kev, he's the reluctant bad guy, isn't he? This one wasn't, though. Paul Tracy was the bad guy, but I'm intrigued, PT. When you were just getting going, who did you try and push around, or maybe who pushed back on you?
Well, when I first came into the sport, Michael Andretti, he was the guy. He was the man. He was the fastest guy, the most aggressive. And I came into the sport, and I wanted to be that guy. And immediately, Michael and I started getting into conflict, and that conflict went on for 20-plus years. So it kind of defined our career together. We did a lot of damage, but we raced each other hard and dirty sometimes.
But Townsend, thinking back to Road America and a couple of skirmishes that Rossi was involved in, there was no response, no reaction from race control. So what does that say to you?
I think it says to me simply that the message is clear from race control. Don't hate the game. Play the game. And to all the other drivers that are complaining, saying it's rude or whatever, don't touch me, forget about that. Step up to the level of governance. And IndyCar has sent a very strong message. We want to see guys race. You're not allowed to defend proactively any of that, but we want the elbows out a little bit. I like it, and I think we're going to be in for some more good battling tonight.
And maybe if you need to sort it out between yourselves. We are going to stay with the Andretti theme, but on a far more somber note and a very emotional note. And there is Marco Andretti, and where I'm going with this is, this week Marco lost his grandmother. Michael lost his mother, and Mario lost his wife of more than 50 years, Deanne. This is a very sad week for the Andretti family and the racing world, and this is what Mario had to say on social media. God gave me an angel in my wife, Deanne. After 57 years with me, God had a greater need for an angel in heaven and called her home on July the 2nd. While it feels like the wheels have come off the family, your condolences will truly help us get them back on. Thank you all so very much. It's a sad time right now, Robin Miller, for sure.
It is, and when Deanne Hoke was single, she was tutoring people in English. Well, she met this little guy from Italy. His name was Mario Andretti. She taught him how to speak English. That was the late 50s. In 1961, they were married. They started a family. But in the early days, she went to Daytona with him. But when they had Michael, he was the first child. Then they had Jeff. Then they had Barbie. She cut back her schedule. She didn't go to near as many races. And as you can see here in this picture, in 1968, they were a happy family in Indianapolis. She decided, I'm going to be the house husband and house mother. I'm going to teach them how to throw a baseball, make it to school on time, learn their manners. So while Mario was globetrotting all over the world winning Formula One and IndyCar races, Deanne was raising the family. And she did a good job. She was a strong, tough woman. And guess what? She was the glue that kept the Andretti's together all those years. 57 years of marriage. We're thinking about her and Mario today.
Gearing up for the Iowa Corn 300 as we welcome you back to IndyCar Live, getting pretty close now on a beautiful day just outside of Des Moines, Iowa, in Newton, Iowa, to be correct. And the reigning champion of this series is Josef Newgarden. This is how he constructed his run from around this time of year last year all the way to Sonoma, California. He was down some 56 points at the end of the Iowa race last year, but look how he turned it around. And then once he got ahead, he never looked back. So I wonder if the same can be said for our new competition, which is What You Cookin', presented by Butterball, because this week's driver is Josef Newgarden. We've seen Ryan Hunter-Reay and Simon Pagenaud come up with some pretty clever creations. Now remember, there is a really good cause at the end of this competition, because the winner of the 6 drivers will get $25,000 to give to the charity of their choice. It's Newgarden's turn in What You Cookin', presented by Butterball.
Hey guys, I'm Josef Newgarden. We're in the shadow of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I'm at Barbecue and Bourbon today. Let's go inside and cook up a burger. Now, I read the rule book. The secret is there is no rule book. So I have come here to this supercharged place. I'm gonna cook up for you today an awesome turkey burger. I'm a Tennessee kid, so I thought a nice barbecue turkey burger would be setting the mood just right for this challenge. Start with my beautiful butterball turkey. Got some onion, and then obviously, we need a little barbecue sauce. Boom, get in there, get in my bowl. Let's get this all together. Oh yeah, the messier the better. That's my type of patty, you know, keeping it thick. All right, now it's time to pop these guys on the grill. I like to just, look at that. I like to get a little sugar on top of my patties. We'll let these guys go, about 5 to 7 minutes on each side. I'm actually pop over here, drop down my onion rings. You gotta be alert though, this is a dangerous situation, so these onion rings are pretty much done. I'm gonna lay some cheese. It's not really the taste, it's the presentation that the cheese helps. So, I got my toasted buns. I'm gonna pick my favorite burger. This guy, get a little barbecue sauce. I'm gonna top it off. Boom. Look at that. Who doesn't wanna eat that? I don't see how this guy can't win. Yeah. Defend the one. Boom.
Boom, I like it. Josef Newgarden is here, the game show sweeping America, and we've had a lot of the NBC staff asking to be a part of the judging panel, so Katie Hargett joins us here. So Katie's going to go ahead and get started and take a bite, and we'll get her score, and then I'll go next. By the way, we've talked.
Remember, we're friends.
Yeah, we've talked about shenanigans, and I've got a new idea for you. So one of my dreams is I want to take batting practice at a major league ballpark. So I think for some sort of IndyCar promotion in one of the markets we go to, maybe if I'm just throwing your UBP, we'll do that.
I love that. We can absolutely, we didn't talk about this beforehand, Kevin, but we can make this happen. Whatever it takes to get a 10 today, I'm willing to do, Kevin, all right? So just, you let me know. I didn't bring any money with me. I should have brought some cash.
No cash.
Whatever it takes.
All right, Katie, you talk.
Kevin's taking bribes. But I'm an Indy girl through and through, and Josef, you were on Main Street and Speedway at one of my favorite restaurants, Barbecue and Bourbon. It being my first time, we'll go with the 9. Kev, what do you think?
A 9's pretty good. That's, so you got to think. So you already had it? You're satisfied with the 9?
Delish.
Do you want to rethink it? Do you want to let it sit a little more and think about it, maybe get it a 10?
Well, I can't give you a 10 right away. This is my first time, Josef. You got to remember.
Did you taste the dash of sugar? That's really critical, okay?
I tasted the cheese, and that's what I liked.
All right, I am ready to offer mine, and here is going to be the determining factor. I think you weren't preparing with engineering. You cooked this 5 minutes ago. It was fresh. It was hot. We've got our first 10 that I've given of the year. So I think he's tied now with Simon Pagenaud for the leader after 3 rounds. All right, what do you got for the race today?
I think we're going to be pretty good. I mean, I've been really happy with the Hitachi car. You know, we rolled off great because we got the test here, and a lot of us tested, but I think it really did wonders for us at Team Penske. Team Chevy's been doing a good job. My engine feels great, so I don't have a ton to complain with. It's really the unknown that makes me a little bit nervous, is how's this race really going to unfold? We tested last night, but it was at 6 o'clock. You know, now we're going to race at 1 o'clock. It's going to be a lot harder. I think everyone's in for a very difficult day.
Well, it seems appropriate near the Field of Dreams. Josef and I are going to be working what ballpark we're going to, and we're going to have BP coming up at a near-time date. Lee.
So good news for Josef Newgarden, not so good news for Ryan Hunter-Reay, who drops out of contention in What You Cookin'. However, we're going to hear from RHR next and learn more about him with Robin Miller. Welcome back to Iowa Speedway on a gorgeous day. Now, there's no question that IndyCar racing is an American sport with a global appeal, with a field packed with international drivers. But it's the legendary American names that have really resonated with the US fan base. Names like Foyt, Andretti and the Unsers. But in this modern era, there is a great crop of young, talented American drivers, and at the head of that field is Ryan Hunter-Reay, as Robin Miller tells us.
Back in 2006, Ryan Hunter-Reay was in no man's land. An IndyCar driver with no ride and no prospects. Hardly the career path for a talented 25-year-old that had already won races. But just before the lights went out, he got a call from Bobby Rahal. 16 months later, he was standing in victory lane at Watkins Glen after winning the IndyCar race, and everything looked rosy. After a split season with the teams of Tony George and A.J. Foyt, RHR again found himself in limbo, until Michael Andretti offered him a couple races in 2010. But after he won the Long Beach Grand Prix that spring, RHR never looked back. He's been Andretti's #1 driver ever since, and a mainstay at the front of the IndyCar field. In 2012, he captured the IndyCar Championship in the season finale at Fontana, and then scored one of the most dramatic Indy 500 victories in 2014 after a fantastic duel with Helio Castroneves.
Wow. He made it! He did it! What a gutsy move! They're coming to the line, and Ryan Hunter-Reay did it!
Today, he's a 37-year-old veteran with 17 wins who has led 1,357 laps and established himself as one of the guys to beat in any of IndyCar's 4 disciplines.
Awesome, man, awesome.
But let's be honest, he really likes ovals. Indy, Pocono, and especially the short ones. He still holds the record for leading all 250 laps in Milwaukee, and he's finished first 3 times, second once, and third at today's venue, Iowa Speedway. He's been plagued by mechanical gremlins the past couple seasons, despite being as quick as ever, but broke back into the win column last month at Detroit.
He's right in his gearbox.
Oh, see the lock up,
and he's going down. Hunter-Reay goes through to the race lead. Goodness.
Good job, guys.
And at Road America finished second, back up front where he belongs. He's an IndyCar champion and an Indy 500 winner. But most importantly, he's an IndyCar driver with a home and lots of good miles ahead of him.
Ryan, I think perseverance pretty much describes you in a nutshell. We just talked about, I called you in 2006 when you're testing a stock car, and we're thinking, this guy's won races and he's already out of open wheel racing. Did you ever just give up, or did you think maybe something good would happen someday?
Oh, you always have to think something, positive, something good is going to come along. But, man, for a while there, I was just adrift at sea. I remember sitting on the couch just looking up at the ceiling like, what's my next move? I was coaching Ferrari Challenge, doing track days here and there, driving in the passenger seat with some sketchy, older than ideal gentlemen. But, and then one thing led to another, racing super late models, testing some NASCAR stuff, driving GT3 cars here and there, and just trying to get into anything I could. And thankfully, the call from Bobby Rahal really reignited my career and set me on a path to where I am today.
But when Michael Andretti gave you your 5 or 6 race shot and you won Long Beach, you almost forced their hand. Then they said, hell, we got to give this guy a full-time ride. And from that, you never looked back after that.
Yeah, that was a pivotal point. Absolutely. We started the season off, I think, with 3 or 4 races scheduled. And we went out and podiumed at Brazil and then won Long Beach. And it was like, all right, well, how are we going to shut this thing down? And then Izod jumped on board more, and it just became, it started snowballing and got bigger and bigger. And I've been at Andretti Autosport ever since. So it's a great home, great group of people here. They've given me the opportunity of a lifetime over the years. And, it's family to me. So it's great what we've accomplished together, but we have to accomplish a whole lot more, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Okay, can you get number 4 today?
That's the plan, man. It's going to be tough. Wow. It's going to be slick. It's going to be sliding all over the place. But that's what we're trying for. We're just going to have to get into a rhythm, see what we have, and where the car's happy on the racetrack. That's going to be the key. We're sliding around so much, these Firestones, we're using them up. So tire deg's going to be, I think, the key to the race today.
All right. Good job, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Lee Diffie, back to you.
Robin, it's a terrific story. He is a great American IndyCar champion. Thanks so much for watching IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon. We've set you up. You've got everything you need to get ready for the Iowa Corn 300. It's coming up. We go racing when we come back. What a season it has been in 2018, the Verizon IndyCar season.
has been so enjoyable. We bring you to round 11. It's the Iowa Corn 300 from Iowa Speedway, and let's go trackside for the command.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome President of Iowa Corn Promotion Board, Dwayne Astrop, to give the command.
Drivers, start those ethanol-powered engines.
The drivers in the race today have really colourful things to say about this racetrack because they know how challenging it is, but at the same time, to do speeds in excess of 180 miles on a 7/8 of a mile oval is exhilarating for them as competitors. Kevin, this should be an enjoyable one today.
Should be fun, and a lot of people have been talking about the contact a couple of times this year between Alexander Rossi and Robert Wickens. Although Alex downplays it, Robbie sees it very differently, and it's much on his mind. And look at this. They are starting nose to tail. They're also pitted next to each other. It may not play its way out today, but keep an eye on these two, Jan.
And Kevin, Ed Carpenter shared with us he was not at all happy with this car in final practice, so they reverted to somewhat of a qualifying setup. Now, this is going to be a situation where they'll need to tweak on this car early in the race. That might force the team to pit early. But the way the pit windows work here, pitting early for tires, Katie, might be the way to go.
And Jan Simon Pagenaud feels like this is the first time all season he can truly unleash himself. He can run high, he can run low, he can slingshot around other drivers, but check this out. Yesterday in final practice, coming down the backstretch, a little bit of bad luck, he blew an engine, but I talked to the team earlier today and they said, hey, no harm, no foul. We've got the bad luck out of the way, and they expect Simon to attack for the win today from the high line. Lee?
And there is Simon Pagenaud. Spoke with Simon a little earlier today. I said, you've been looking pretty solid this weekend. He said, hey, put that engine thing aside. As Katie said, car feels great. I'm confident I can do it today. Grid at the top of your screen with, again, the third consecutive race in a row, fellas, that Penske has locked out the front row.
Penske has the front row, but row 3 has Alexander Rossi and Scott Dixon. And behind Rossi, as Kevin pointed out, it's Wickens. Those two not as friendly as they used to be.
All right, we're going to give you some interesting points of view here. As far as onboards, Lucas Oil will provide this view for James Hinchcliffe, who has won at Iowa Speedway before. Who else have we got for you today here in the Heartland? PNC Bank provides this for the championship leader, Scott Dixon. What can he do today? Graham Rahal carries the Luther Automotive camera and gives us the helmet cam view, which is quite interesting. And it'll be chaotic at times out there, and as you mentioned earlier in IndyCar Live, Ed Carpenter is carrying the Verizon streaming camera today. You can go inside IndyCar all season long by downloading IndyCar Mobile exclusively from Verizon, America's best streaming network. How about Zach Veach? He's performed well here in Indy Lights, first IndyCar race here, and this is the relay camera. And we've got one more on board for you, and that is Ryan Hunter-Reay, the 3-time champion here with thanks to Verizon. Now, this is something that Will Power won't want to hear, and that is the Mike's Hard Lemonade track facts. And that track fact is no pole sitter here at this race in IndyCar history has ever gone on to win the race. Now, maybe Will can change that today, PT.
Well, we had a talk with him on the grid, and he seems pretty confident of his car. He had a good night practice. Tire wear is going to be crucial today. These tires fall off after about 35 laps, so look for guys starting to pit at 30 to 40 laps, but you could go 75 laps on a set of tires.
All Penske front row, Will Power down low in the silver Verizon car. Josef Newgarden, the reigning champ, on the high line. And Pagenaud in that very distinct Menards yellow one, racing in Iowa. Let's go, nice and close. And it's Will Power who takes the lead into the first 2 turns.
Nobody on the extreme high line. Pagenaud's flirting with it, trying to look for a way by RHR.
Then back to Alexander Rossi in 5th. Behind Rossi, it's Dixon, then Wickens. And then along comes Ed Jones. Takuma Sato in the mix, ahead of Ed Carpenter and James Hinchcliffe. Pagenaud and Rossi side by side.
Nice clean pass by Rossi. That was a nice one, so perfectly done. Pagenaud looks to the high side. Wickens on the inside of Dixon. following Rossi's moves. He's chasing his tail.
Dixon looking very strong on the outside there. Clears Wickens, and now he'll set his sights further up on that Rossi-Pagenaud battle. Rossi making the low line work early. He will not be able to do that later on in the stint as the tires start to wear.
Spoke to Pagenaud's guys earlier. He said he watched a truck race from here, and he saw that the high line was the line for the trucks and really wanted to work on that line early. He's already up there. Look at the speed coming off the corner when he comes off the high line. He's got way more top-end speed than being on the low part of the track.
Scott Dixon's also making it work. Sebastian Bourdais working the high line. In fact, Bourdais' biggest mover since the start, up 3 positions along with Andretti and Piggott.
So we got a 2-groove racetrack already, which is going to make good racing tonight. Here's Marco racing with Tony Kanaan. Marco's always a guy who's up on the high line.
This
former
is
winner here, 2 former winners here.
16th and 17th position we're talking about at the moment with Marco Andretti, Tony Kanaan, and then Zach Clayman de Mello back in 18th. So it's Power leading by over a second up at the front as Kanaan makes the move on Andretti.
Clayman de Mello stuffs it down the inside. Marco washes out a little bit from TK's car. Zach Veach down the inside of Ed Carpenter. Ed Carpenter rallying back on that high line. Look at that speed. When you come off on the high line, Towns, look at the top speed that you pull.
Not only do you use more top speed or with a bigger radius, but you use less of your tire doing that. But then it kind of flip-flops at the other end of the track. Carpenter has to back out of it exiting 4.
This is what it looks like for Ed. And you're going to hear some animated car audio today on the oval because not only they have to change down and back up again a couple of times a lap, so they're busy. It's not just get it into top gear and hold it flat the whole way. Ed Jones on the inside in the blue and white DC Solar car on Robert Wickens.
Look at that speed coming off the corner on the top side. Gives you a little bit more straight line speed. Ed down on the inside.
Well, just like with Carpenter a little while ago, it worked down in 1 and 2, but it seems like if you stay high through 3 and 4 like Wickens did, you lose the drive off the corner. So the high line down in 1 and 2, and it looks like you want to be low in 3 and 4. It's really dramatic how long the lift is as Hinchcliffe comes up on his teammate, looks inside of Wickens.
Robbie.
So Wickens finding his feet on this oval, and he said it's the first oval that he's been on that's really had his number.
Well, it's the first oval that he's really had where he's now going backwards. He's losing positions. He's always been coming forwards, leading laps at Phoenix, which was a surprise to everybody. But right now, he has fallen back to 9th, so he's losing his way here.
How about this? We're 11 laps in, and the leader has already started lap traffic. That's going to be a storyline all night, how lap traffic plays into this. I don't think we've ever seen a short oval where you catch the tail end of the field that fast.
And Will predicted that right from the beginning of the race. He knew that that was going to be the case, and he said, hey, that's the benefit of starting on the pole. You'll get some clear air early, but he said, I know I'll catch traffic pretty quickly. Kev?
There's a lot of drama right before they fire the engines for Ryan Hunter-Reay as we ride on board. They had the nose cone off looking at the electronics. They couldn't hear him on the radio. They didn't get it addressed as he goes around the outside already lapping cars, and this is before the race. They thought it might be the helmet. It wasn't the helmet. So he can hear the pit box, but they cannot hear him, so he can't tell them what changes he wants, at least as of now.
Well, you're going to have to resort the old school ways, try to give some hand signals, you know, up for more wing, down for less wing with your finger when you're coming to pit, but you're going to have to basically use the tools you have, and that's all you've got pretty much, Townsend.
For sure. Not as bad as losing pit to driver as driver to pit. When you lose pit to driver, then you really have to watch your fuel, and it makes it more difficult. But Hunter-Reay will challenge through it. You see the pit windows there based on tires. We're told we can go as much as 85, 90 laps on fuel, but I don't think anybody will dare go that deep into the tire stint.
Tires won't last that long for sure. Joseph Newgarden in second has caught his teammate because Will Power's been dealing with the traffic first. So it's the Penske teammates running 1 and 2. Ryan Hunter-Reay is third, Simon Pagenaud fourth, and Alexander Rossi in the top 5. And Wickens has dropped all the way to 9th. Meanwhile, his teammate James Hinchcliffe has been the biggest mover since the start of the race. So we're up and running at Iowa Speedway in the Iowa Corn 300. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Iowa Corn. Iowa corn farmers grow corn for feed, food, and fuel. By United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of IndyCar and proud sponsor of Graham Rahal. And by Honda, an official vehicle of the Verizon IndyCar series. As we welcome you back, there is a new leader in the Iowa Corn 300, and it is Josef Newgarden. Watch this. On the far right of your screen is Newgarden. Power is up there behind Marco Andretti, dancing in the grey, and Newgarden on that low line just blasted on through.
Yeah, Power got into the dirty air behind Marco, had to check up, and Newgarden was just down low, clean air, right line, good acceleration. This is a great battle right here. Seeing Takuma Sato and Robert Wickens go at it with, again, a lap car in the mix with Gabby Chavez. Sato goes low.
Wickens is staying with him. Hanging tight on the outside. That was brave. We're already Wickens trusting Sato. Sato's always a clean driver, but I think the lap cars at the end of this race are really going to play a key, as obviously for the lead.
And this is a big turnaround. Yes, Paul, this is a big turnaround for Takuma Sato. He has not been happy with this car at all leading up to qualifying and final practice, getting in this battle involved with Gabby Chavez for a lap, and then of course Robert Wickens. He said his car has been what we know as pushy loose. In other words, it pushes, the front won't turn, and when it hooks up, it snaps loose. But now this looks much more solid.
Sato's running in 11th. He's just ahead of his teammate Graham Rahal, and Sato coming off a really strong result at Road America 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the reason I was cringing a bit there with Sato down low was that late in the tire stint, we're already 33 laps in here, and the tire grip is well down. The lap times are a second slower than they were at the start. When you try to hold the low line like Graham Rahal's going to do right here, you hit those bumps right there in the middle of 3 and 4. It can be a handful. The car can easily get away from you.
Well, Graham Rahal's fighting for his life right now with Newgarden right behind him. He's checked out on power, so Graham Rahal right now is really fighting hard to stay on the lead lap.
See what Newgarden does down here. He goes high, looking for clean air. Now he's going to try to cross over that dirty air coming off the back of Rahal. And now down in 1 and 2, we think going high is the quicker way. So Rahal stays up, and then Newgarden goes down low to pick up clean air. That's going to be the game you're going to see all day long.
You've almost, to try to keep the leader behind you with Newgarden being so fast, you've almost got to mirror drive and just drive his line. But he's got to run off of 4. Really strong run coming off.
No surprise to see that, and the first opportunity for us to get an indication of how strong the 3 Penske cars was in qualifying yesterday.
And for Josef Newgarden, he's so strong, he's almost 4 seconds ahead of Power. But look at James Hinchcliffe. He's the biggest mover of the race, up 7 positions. He laps Marco Andretti. He's all over the back of 3rd place Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Still there tight. Here are the Iowa Corn biggest movers of the race, and as Townsend just said, Hinch is up 7. Spencer Pigot, after his first top 10 of the year in Road America 2 weeks ago, he's up 6, and rookie Zach Clayman DeMello up the same amount as well.
Got a whole mix of cars here in front of Hunter-Reay, lap cars, leader cars, so really making for an interesting race. He's got a run right here. Nice run off the exit for Hinchcliffe, but he's not quite there. I think the high line might prevail here.
This is for a top 3 spot, and James grabs it.
And guys, James Hinchcliffe is feeling reinvigorated really here at Iowa Speedway for the very first time since the whole May debacle. He's been reunited with an engineer that he's worked with in the past, so he says they're starting to speak the same language. They can start to reference old changes that James liked, especially here at Iowa Speedway. Remember, he's a winner here back from 2011, and when I talked to him after practice yesterday, he said, I found a car that is really good on those long runs, and he's proving it here. I expect him to just keep getting better and better.
And when Katie talks about the May debacle, that was James Hinchcliffe not qualifying for the Indianapolis 500. That was a bitter pill to swallow for the man who has sat on pole position at the Brickyard. But Hinch is surging his way to the front now, and he is the first non-Penske car, and he's right there with Will Power looking to steal away 2nd place, and he does so. Right up the inside, Hinchcliffe is on a mission.
Driving with the old confidence that we've seen in the past. what a struggle and what a difference it is today versus just having an engineer change. It's so difficult, Townsend, when you bring a new engineer over from Europe or sports cars to try to adapt to ovals. It's a really difficult situation to be in.
But this is hugely encouraging for this team to see how strong Hinchcliffe is at the end of the tire stint. We're lap 42. And Jan Bigas, we've talked a lot about tires. We think we might see guys coming to pit lane as early as lap 50 on a 5-stop. What do you see?
Yes, it's a case where at 50 laps on the tires, the team forecast you'll be 1.5 seconds slower. But the longer you can stay out here, the better chance you have of not being caught by yellow. In other words, if you were to pit now, Townsend and Paul, as you know, you would go down nearly 2 laps, 1 3/4 laps. If the rest of the people who stayed out hit a caution, you'd be trapped a lap down. So you'd like to have tires now, but it's taking a risk.
A big result for Hinchcliffe coming into next week, into his home race of Toronto, would be a huge shot in the arm that he needs going into the Toronto week.
So Josef Newgarden leads the way, and he's got a healthy lead over this guy, James Hinchcliffe, some 8 seconds. But Hinch is on a mission, and he knows how to get it done here at Iowa Speedway because the mayor of Hinchtown did it back in 2013 for that man there, Michael Andretti and Andretti Autosport. We're in the break. Look just behind Josef Newgarden. He lapped championship leader Scott Dixon in the orange and blue machine. So how about that? That means there's only 9 cars on the lead lap, racing lap 54 here at Iowa. The front runners are carving their way through this field.
Spencer Piggott working on Dixon for 11th and 10th place. Dixon now looks a little bit loose, Townsend. Everybody pretty much has got a loose car.
Oh, everybody's hanging on at this point. I even saw Josef Newgarden when he was trying to get by Sato to put him a lap down. Newgarden's car loosened up pretty good down low. So there he is coming back to Sato, but he lost a lot of time. Hinchcliffe's now closed within 7 seconds. It was as much as 9. There's battles going on all over the track. Piggott gets by Dixon there.
Maybe he was inspired by getting a 19 out of 20 on his What You Cooking.
What You Cooking now?
Everybody right now is hoping for a yellow or to get to the pits and do some changes to their cars, but I'm really surprised that the only guy that has pitted so far has been Kanaan. He was handling so bad, but he's 3 laps down now. So,
speaking of Tony Kanaan, his ABC Supply AJ Foyt Racing teammate Matthias Leist is out of the race at the moment, and we are led to believe the team are investigating some electronic issues. The Brazilian teenager had a pretty big crash yesterday. Here's Ed Jones. He's in.
And we'll watch carefully to see if there is a wing change. He has been complaining. Yes, there's a wing change at the front. He's been complaining of the car being loose on exit. Nice stop for Ed Jones.
The driver from Dubai was pretty confident coming into today's race. He said his car was stable. Thought he could go quite well. We'll see what the second stint yields for Ed Jones.
Newgarden's still working on Sato. Sato not making it easy, rallying, trying to pull a gap back out, keep on the lead lap as Ed Jones comes out. We'll see Wickens fighting with Bourdais. But these two right here is fighting for keep the lap, and Rossi is now in the clutches of Newgarden to be lapped as well.
So this has helped James Hinchcliffe immensely because Hinch was more than 9 seconds adrift of the race leader, Josef Newgarden. Now Hinch is within 6.5 seconds.
Rossi is so loose. His car is snapping all the way through the corner.
The yellow and blue machine, the Napa Auto Parts car. Look at Alexander Rossi, side to side, soaring at the wheel, trying to hang on to that thing.
We're not even 25% into this race, and there's only 8 cars on the lead lap. So Newgarden carving up the field, but he definitely took things back a notch when he had that moment earlier with Sato. So I think Newgarden's either coaching himself or hearing from his Penske team, hey, just settle down. We've got a nice gap right now. No big risks at this stage in the race.
The 27-year-old from Hendersonville, Tennessee, leads the way. Hey, speaking of good young American drivers, want to congratulate Eric Jones on his first Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series win last night at Daytona in a thriller of a finish. A wild race at the World Center of Racing, but congratulations, Eric. That first one's out of the way, and to do it at Daytona and to do it in the fashion that he did, it was a mighty win.
And to do it with a mullet. I mean, that's impressive.
Sato all over the back of Veach now. So Sato has rallied and pulled a gap to Newgarden to keep himself on the lead lap, and he's going to pit pretty soon here, but his car looks pretty good right now. He seems to be pulling away from Newgarden now.
How'd you like to beat Veach? I mean, Veach has driven an incredible first 63 laps. You'd hear from your team, all right, bud, good job. You're P7, but you're about to get lapped.
Yeah, crazy. It's crazy, isn't it? And those drivers who have been lapped include Spencer Piggott, Alexander Rossi, Scott Dixon, Graham Rahal.
Oh, woo!
Tell us more, Jan.
Well, for Zach Veach, you can see the car is pretty well planted considering 65 laps on those tires. He had a big problem after the test. In other words, the test, he was fast. He was 4th behind his teammates, but when he came here, just couldn't get it balanced. That's the great thing about Andretti Autosport and having a 4-car team. He was able to gather the information from the other cars, settle it down, and now Zach Veach, who loves this kind of racetrack, can be racy because he shares information with his teammates.
If you want to see a positive, optimistic driver who pretty much has a smile on his face the majority of the time and is just thankful, grateful to be in IndyCar, it's this young man here. And with that positive spirit, he has got some terrific results so far this year. We'll see what he can do today. Meanwhile, here is James Hinchcliffe on Graham Rahal. Hinch is second, 7.5 seconds and race leader.
Hinchcliffe loosened up big time coming off turn 2 as he was trying to get past Rahal. A lot of hand movement. You could see those red gloves working furiously behind the wheel. He'll come back and attack Rahal another time.
Paul, a lot less downforce, some 1,000 pounds less on the cars this year. So that wash, that aero wash when you're behind isn't as bad as it was. But tell us what that's like. Tell the folks at home what it's like when you get behind another car and you ostensibly lose control of yours.
Well, downforce is king for everything. Downforce masks all your problems that you have with a car. So they're running now at these speeds about 600-700 pounds less downforce than last year. You just can't run as close. The car's going to slip and slide a little bit more, but that's what these drivers wanted. They wanted the cars more difficult to drive and put it more back in the driver's hands.
This is Graham Rahal coming in for his first stop of the day. Race leader Josef Newgarden on the left.
Still tire pressure adjustment to confirm. You don't want no weakness?
And you can hear the conversation, and that is because Graham Rahal waved off a request to make a front wing change, so they are just going to do it with tire pressure. Tire pressure can make quite a big difference. Of course, that's something that does not slow down your pit stop, which can be the case, as that was just over 7 seconds. Katie?
And Simon Pagenaud also making his first stop of the day. He said the car is terrible in traffic. The team is going to help him with that with some tire pressure adjustments, Lee.
Ed Carpenter is in the Fuzzy's Vodka Chevrolet. It's been a steady opening stint for Ed.
And just watching Newgarden, the pace is incredible. 20.3 seconds that last lap. We're on lap 72. If he can make it to lap 75 or further, he'll be able to do this race on 3 stops.
Right now, he's running a second a lap quicker than Hinchcliffe. Hinchcliffe at a 21.3, 21.4 for Power, 21.6 for Hunter Ray. So right now, he is walking the dog.
Well, look at what he's put, Townsend. Look at what he's put on his teammate and pole sitter Will Power.
Yeah.
15 seconds.
And remember, that gap was down to about 6.5 with Hinch. It's now 11 seconds. So Newgarden on his way to lapping the field early here in Iowa.
Josef Newgarden has a self-imposed program. It's called Defend the One. And boy, is he doing that in style now.
Look at the difference on fresh tires, though. Rahal went by him like he was standing still. So now we know at the end of the race, if it comes down to a shootout, fresh tires are going to be everything. Look at Rahal's just pulled half the straightaway and literally a lap on him.
Hunter Ray pits from within the top 5.
Doesn't matter, though, Paul, for Newgarden, because he's 2 laps up on Rahal, about to come to pit lane soon. Piggott takes fresh tires.
A 19.8 on that last lap for Rahal. 21.3 for...
Ryan Hunter-Reay pitting from 4th position. Remember, he cannot talk to the team, but Ray Gosselin did tell him, we're not going to change the front wing. He said more so, tire pressures are how we'll adjust things. Sunoco fuel as well. Hunter-Reay back out, and there's a fire, Jan, on Veach.
Yes, Zach Veach, of course, very akin to what we saw. He had a fire at the Indianapolis 500 that they put out. That was a close call with another car coming in, but it appears as though that was a fuel fire that they were able to put out by the use of water. That is the whole idea. Everything looks okay. Katie?
James Hinchcliffe fits from the second position. He's the biggest mover of the day, but dealing with the left front tire vibration. The team said, don't worry about it, bud. We're going to give you a tire pressure adjustment to fix that for this one, as you also see Marco Andretti pitting for his first stop. Lee?
Wow, that was a wild sequence of stops, wasn't it? Here are the Penske teammates on track together. Simon Pagenaud blasts past race leader Josef Newgarden, who we should see pit any moment now.
Can't really underscore how much faster the cars are on fresh tires.
And remember what happened to Zach Veach at this year's Indianapolis 500.
Something about an orange and yellow car that's not good luck for fueling. There you see a little splash, and it just lights up at Indy. Almost an identical thing just happened here in Iowa. Newgarden's in.
Most of the leaders are coming in right now. This is Will Power coming down, Robert Wickens, and there's Josef Newgarden in the back as well. Power gets to his stall first. Newgarden is going to come around him and has to get around the tiptoe his teammate. No changes should be expected. Power is going to get out just in front of Newgarden. So Will Power jumps Josef Newgarden on the in and out lap.
Yeah, but he's going to try and stay on ahead of Newgarden because he was about to get lapped, which is just an incredible opening stint from Josef Newgarden. Here's Rossi and Dixon. Charlie Kimball just been serviced. Kev?
Alexander Rossi, Paul called it. He's been talking about it very loose. He did say the car is starting to come to him a little bit. They make it well past what some fear, maybe 60, 70 laps on tires, and Rossi is slow getting away. They're going to have to push him back. Dixon gets out. They'll push Rossi back and under green. This is going to be incredibly costly.
Remember what happened to Rossi despite being in the mix at Road America. He had that problem with the shim on the front left, and it was extremely costly.
On a track this tight with a lap time this short, that's a total disaster as Newgarden finishes his first out lap. But look at the lap time, 19.1 seconds, so right back up to speed and flying is the number one.
The guy who's really fell through the field with that pit stops is Power, who's fallen back to 9th.
And Pagenaud has surged. So one Penske down, another one up, but it is the reigning series champion, Josef Newgarden, who is dominating.
Oh, that's hard. I love naps. I don't know if you know that. I love movies. I love food. I like snowboarding, and I love ping pong. I got a challenge going with Golden Tate. I think 2018 is the year of ping pong. There's 5 things you may or may not know about me.
That was the Chevy driver profile of the man who leads this race by just under 5 seconds, Josef Newgarden, a youngster from Tennessee who wanted to make his way to Formula One, raced in GP3, and then the road turned one way, not the other, and he came back to the United States to form a very successful career. He's now an IndyCar champion. The longest runner on that first stint, Sebastian Bourdais.
And that is amazing, going 96 laps on this stint. So Bourdais, who's not been happy all weekend, but there have been times before when Sebastian just kind of lets it come to him, and that's a totally different strategy by simply staying out and hanging on. And that's what he said before the race. What's your game plan? He said simply survive. So far, so good.
Unfortunately, the coin cars have been struggling this weekend. They did not test here recently, and that hurt them. So how about this for a good, strong, positive run? This is Spencer Pigot in the Fuzzy's Vodka Chevrolet for Ed Carpenter Racing. Finished 8th at Road America 2 weeks ago. He's got confidence on a high. He practiced well. Didn't qualify all that well. He was a bit disappointed with that, but the car is hooked up now, and he's got the series leader, Scott Dixon, right behind him. However, Pigot is in 5th. Dixon is a lap down in 13th, and there is going to be a massive point swing if this race stays as it is until the end of the 300th lap, because this man we ride with, Scott Dixon, is going to lose a substantial amount of points to Josef Newgarden.
Well, currently sits at a 30-point loss. He came into this race 45 points ahead, currently runs 14 ahead of Newgarden. And Piggott up in front seems to be pulling away. And remember, that car finished second here last year.
Piggott making a move on Hunter Ray. Nice pass there. Nice. Well, doesn't get it. I thought he was going to stuff it right in there, Townsend.
And the other thing we have been remiss to mention, this is Spencer Piggott's first IndyCar race here. Raced here in Indy Lights, but remember he was with that split season since he's been with Ed Carpenter Racing of just doing the road courses and not doing the ovals. Full-time season for Ed Carpenter Racing. First appearance here at Iowa has been impressive.
Got another run there coming on Hunter Ray. He's going to make him go to the outside.
What you got, Jan?
First, an update on Scott Dixon. You saw how much more racy he was after the pit stop, and now you can see him closing in. They added front wing. He is much happier. Remember, anyone who stopped after lap 75 should have enough to make it, if it stays green, to do it in 2 more stops. Now, we see some on pit road. Ed Jones is pitting his teammate. But speaking of pit road, for Zach Veach, after that fire, the team has been feverishly down here changing the fuel probe. After the fire, when he left, you can see as the fuel probe is released, obviously it's still spilling fuel. The water is able to extinguish that. They have what's known as the dead man valve. In other words, as soon as that was released, the fuel flow stopped, but they do not know why. They evaluated the fuel probe. That's the brand new one. They just changed it over to a spare. They will take it back to the shop in review. But so strange that the same car in one season was alight twice.
I see blue duct tape everywhere here, Paul, on the hose. I wonder if there was a leak or if what's been going on. You can see him trying to type in the clamp and the sensor.
Yeah, I don't know, but that guy certainly was very calm. It's like he's had that happen before. No panic. They just sprayed some water and off he went, but definitely need to fix that. As we watch Power now getting attacked by his teammate, about to go a lap down here.
From pole position to being lapped in the first 100 or so laps.
And Hunter Ray falling back to 6 now. Sato up to P5, and Sato's in a hurry because Newgarden is right there, and currently only 7 cars left on the lead lap. There'll be 6 if Newgarden gets around his teammate, Will Power.
Chasing from behind there is Wickens right there in the back of the shot, coming up on Newgarden here. So he's trying to rally back to get his lap back, getting his feet under him. Not a lot of experience on these short ovals. As we see now, Wickens is right in the picture there.
Chevy driver update gives us a look at the top Chevy drivers in today's race so far. Needless to say, Josef Newgarden the best, and finally puts his teammate a lap down. He doesn't know. Power comes back. Will Power, the pole sitter, fighting hard to stay on the lead lap.
Wickens gets his lap back. That was the opportunity that he was looking for, and that can really unsettle your tires.
It was exactly like what happened to Josef Newgarden earlier on the previous stint with Sato. He goes down low, but he needs the track room for the slide job to get it up the track. And he didn't get it from his teammate Will Power. That allows Wickens a chance to stay on the lead lap, but now he goes a lap down again. Let's watch it again. So right here, Newgarden's going to go low and hold the low line. But right about here, mid-corner, you need space to slide up the track, and Power didn't give it to him. Newgarden had to back out and almost lost it. That would have taken out both cars.
You incorporating little Dale Jr. there with slide job?
I'm infected, man. He did a great job.
He's now our NBC Sports brother, and he's doing a heck of a job. On board with Scott Dixon, looking back at Power, then Newgarden. Think about the position Scott Dixon's in. He's digging every bit as hard as Power is.
Power right now is driving with a lot of aggression. He has to stay on the lead lap if he's going to have a shot, so he's got to get around Dixon right here as he gets a nice little run coming off the corner. We'll see if he dives for the low line. Dixon blocks that move and takes the low line. And look at
Ed Jones.
Ed Jones on the outside on fresh tires.
Yep, Ed Jones totally bailed on the 3-stopper, pitted on 102, going for the 5-stopper, I think, is Piggott. Gets by Pagano, so Spencer Piggott having one of the best races of his career.
This is an awesome performance from Spencer Piggott and Ed Carpenter Racing. Remember, Jan spoke about it in IndyCar Live at the top of the show, that Ed Carpenter Racing has won here before with a young American. His name just happens to be Josef Newgarden. Imagine if Spencer Piggott could cause a surprise today.
I joined Uber
Quick reminder that Saturday night, the Monster Energy Cup Series rolls under the lights as drivers take on the challenging 1.5 miles at Kentucky Speedway. That's live at 7:30 Eastern on NBCSN. And if you didn't catch it last night from Daytona International Speedway, it was wild. Absolutely wild.
Well, Newgarden has been fighting Sato for the lap down. It seems like forever, so Dale Earnhardt Jr. gives us a nice comment.
I think you might have heard that. Slide job, slide job.
Yeah, he's sending you an invoice for copyright infringement or trademark encroachment. Anyway, well done, enjoying a day off. I hope all the NASCAR drivers, Xfinity drivers, Cup drivers enjoying a day off after a wild weekend in Daytona. As we welcome you back, Lee Diffie, Paul Tracy, Townsend Bell, the Iowa Corn 300. And this is a crazy one in itself in the fact that Josef Newgarden has lapped everybody bar the top 5, bar the fifth, Takuma Sato.
Well, we saw this from Josef Newgarden earlier this season at Phoenix. A sniff of the lead, he was gone. At Barber, dominated. So many times, Road America. And he is just carving up the field as Sato and Pagano are fighting furiously to just try to stay on the lead lap.
And look behind, here's Newgarden. He's ready to lap another one of his teammates.
These two have been side by side for 3 laps, so there's really no opportunity for Newgarden to get by. He's got to lay back and let these guys sort themselves out. But Pagano needs to make it difficult for his teammate if he's going to stay in this fight.
What a job, though. I mean, Josef is there doing it, but he can't do it without his team, his beloved team. They embrace so tightly as a unit. They're so cohesive, led by engineer Brian Campy. And the guys have given him an amazing car. Kev.
Coming into this race, Will Power was most concerned about his teammate Josef Newgarden. Despite the fact that he was on the pole, he said, I needed to be better on the bottom. That's where Newgarden is better to me. And now is why he lost so much in that first stint. Roger Penske told me I wanted him to come in 3 laps earlier because the tires were done. He did not hear the call. So there was those final 3 laps where Newgarden almost put him down a lap.
So meanwhile, we talk a lot about Josef Newgarden. James Hinchcliffe is 3.5 seconds back. We're on board with Hinch. Let's have a listen to a recent radio transmission.
We are catching the leader big time. Leader start finish now. The right front change was too much. Copy that, buddy. Your times are great here, and you are reeling in, Joseph, so just keep doing what you're doing and look after your stuff. Nice job.
Boys, how much did you enjoy getting that motivating radio talk when you were in the cockpit?
Well, when you're in the cockpit, you really lack for information across the board. You have no idea, especially in these situations where you are with other cars like Bourdais racing you hard. You want to know where are they on tires, where are they on track position. And so that information is vital to let somebody like Hinch know, hey, you're the fastest guy on track right now. You're doing great. Protect the car.
Yeah, the ebb and flow of the traffic and how you get through, whether you get hung up, whether a guy starts racing you hard, really dictates right now what the gap is. It was down to 2 seconds. Now it's stretched back out to 4.5 seconds. So Newgarden, anytime there's a challenge, he seems to be able to just respond a little bit and pull back away.
Are you surprised that we have not seen a yellow yet?
I'm amazed. With all this racing going on and these guys wheel to wheel and the lap cars and new tires and old tires, I'm amazed that nobody has wrecked into anybody yet.
There goes Wickens around Hunter Ray. We'll see if it holds. Hunter Ray holds high. I was just going to say, I'm amazed without a yellow, but I also have to give credit to IndyCar for this new aero kit where the drivers have talked about their ability to manage slip angle with this new aero kit much better than previous years.
Zach Veach sideways coming off the corner behind Wickens.
That's what I was just talking about. When the thing moves around underneath you on this new kit, it'll allow a greater slip angle than it did, and the guys just seem to like and learn driving it in an uncomfortable situation.
Graham Rahal, we just had a quick shot up there. He's digging hard. He's a lap down in 11th position.
How about this? Zach Veach just lapped Scott Dixon.
Incredible.
Zach Veach chasing down Wickens. Wickens working all over the back of Ryan Hunter-Ray. Just in front of them, Simon Pagano for position. So we got some good racing going on right here.
Wickens just loosened up big time down low.
Hunter-Ray on the inside of Charlie Kimball. Racing lap 136 of 300 here in Iowa. It sees Newgarden just under 8 seconds ahead of Hinchcliffe. Spencer Piggott on the lead lap in 3rd. and he has been the biggest mover in this field, up 15 positions from his starting spot, Young.
Yes, he has, and Brent Harvey's on the radio with Spencer. He hasn't really been happy all weekend. What has brought this car to life?
Just rearranged the car a little bit of the settings to try to get the balance a little more where he wanted it. Not a lot different, but it's worked out pretty good for the race here.
What's the game plan on tires? How far can you go?
You can run 80-some laps, I think, with the fuel economy we're getting, so.
No, but I mean, as far as good tire life and speed, that seems to be the key today. When do you start losing too much speed?
Right now, you don't. I think you can take it all the way out to 80 with the top 3 cars that are running fast.
Wow, that's shocking that you can have the car dialed to that degree and go 80 laps on good tires.
Well, full credit to Firestone for coming here with great tires as Veach has a huge moment going into 3.
Veach
into the wall.
He's up in the gray. Yellow. Yep. So now we get a chance for everybody to reset on a pit stop, make some changes.
Right side, the lead.
He tried to save it, he tried to hang on, but eventually he was a passenger. And I think if you go back several laps ago, we saw that. Maybe that was telegraphed to us. We saw him loose coming out of turn 2.
It's been getting more and more aggressive, deeper into his rookie season. Gets a big wiggle. At this point, Paul, when you're up into that light gray, no grip, not very hard on impact, so I wonder if they might have a look and put him back out on track.
Well, I think if he can stay in his position, he got loose right away on entry. Like you said, he's in the gray. Ooh, pretty hard hit, but it doesn't look like he's broken a toe link in the rear or anything major, so might be able to just put tires on it and run.
The view from his teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay out the rear. And Veach was trying to fight with fellow rookie Robert Wickens for that 7th position.
Hit both front and rear pretty square. Usually when you hit the rear first and it slaps the front end in over, you can break a toe link. But we watch here from behind. Watch this thing go loose on him. He just went in with a lot of entry speed there, and it stepped out right away, Townsend.
Race control has made the decision to sweep and clean the track before they open the pit lane. We'll sneak away for a break, come back.
And you saw the call by the team for James Hinchcliffe. He had too much right front air pressure. They're going to change that, guys.
Zach Veach is looking the car over carefully. We'll have to see if they make a longer pit stop than usual or if they just know it's normal. Kevin.
This was not a crowded pit lane at all because it's lead lap cars. Josef Newgarden, a half a turn of front wing. He's out, followed by James Hinchcliffe. Spencer Piggott comes out 3rd.
So no major change in the order there for the leaders. No change at all.
Think about this now, particularly for Spencer Piggott of Ed Carpenter Racing. He gets to look at the guys that he has been trying to chase down. He effectively worked his way up into the top 3, but was a good 10+ seconds behind James Hinchcliffe. Now he gets to be right there with those guys. Productive day so far for Simon Pagenaud in the Dayglow Menards 22. What's your take on the general conduct of everybody up until that point?
It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the hard part now is for the only 4 cars on the lead lap is what do you do when you get to lap traffic? How do you behave? How do the others behave? That's going to be key.
Back to Iowa right after this. As we welcome you back to the Iowa Corn 300, this is Zach Veach and his car being worked on. Zach was the cause of this one and only yellow flag period here in the 11th round of the championship this year. And it was really unfortunate for Zach because he was running a very strong race and challenging for a 7th position. Meanwhile, ready to get going again, Josef Newgarden at the front, and he's got closer company than he's had in a long time in this race. Hinchcliffe, the bright green car is Spencer Piggott. Piggott goes the high line on Hinchcliffe, right around the outside. Hinch hangs tough on the inside.
Hard racing there, a clean line up top now. They've just dusted off the track as they still go side by side.
Boy, Piggott is hooked up. Hinchcliffe doesn't want to relinquish it, but he has no choice.
Got awfully close there at the exit of 4 with Hinchcliffe's right front to Pigot's left rear. Here comes Hinchcliffe again.
Hinchcliffe fights back, goes to the low line. Pigot takes the high line, gets the drive off the corner as Hinch washes up and has to shift a gear.
Spencer Pigot is a star pupil and example of the Mazda road to Indy. He won at every stage along the way in the official ladder system for the Verizon IndyCar Series. Can you imagine if he could score his first IndyCar win here today?
That 21 ECR car finished second last year with J.R. Hildebrand to a Penske, but it was Helio Castroneves that won last year for Penske as Hinchcliffe makes the move.
Hinchcliffe fighting hard to get back. He wants to get back.
Got momentum outside.
He wants to get back to Josef Newgarden. The longer these guys fight side by side, it's only helping Newgarden as he's pulled out to a 1-second lead.
Ryan Hunter-Reay and Robert Wickens continuing their fight. Will Power is in the mix as well.
All these guys now back on the lead lap with the wave around. We've got everybody on the lead lap down to Ray Hall in 10th. Hunter-Reay right on the back tire of Wickens.
Let's check out some Firestone telemetry aboard Ryan Hunter-Reay. Up to 184 miles an hour, and we can't stress enough, just remember this is a 7/8 of a mile oval, and you're hitting 184 miles an hour.
A 1:18.6 on the last lap for Josef Newgarden and an 18.8 for Hinchcliffe. So we saw as the tires were guys down in the 21s and 20s. So
just over the halfway mark of the Iowa Corn 300. And Josef Newgarden has led 133 of the 156 laps. What a performance.
Hinchcliffe just took half a second out of Newgarden on that last lap, and that's encouraging because Newgarden hasn't caught lap traffic yet. So that's just outright pace for Hinch, who's looking very strong right now.
All right, it's time as Iowa Corn takes us through the field. Hey, Kev, kick it off.
Josef Newgarden in control. He's been in this position before, dominating this race a couple of years ago. Much less downforce this year. Many were complaining. He said, I like it. It means that you can get it really right, you can get it wrong, but there's a chance to just stomp everybody, and that's what he's doing so far today, Katie.
And Kevin, this is the most confidence that James Hinchcliffe has had since he had that big debacle in May and didn't make the Indianapolis 500. Early on in the race, he was dealing with the vibration in his right front, but ever since then, the team has made little adjustments, and now he's out to sail. Jan?
And for Spencer Pigot, and you may have heard in the pre-race show where his team owner, Ed Carpenter, said the setup that Ed Carpenter Racing has is something that doesn't really translate to the new Aero kit, but boy, they found the setup here for Spencer Pigot at the moment. Right behind him, what a breakthrough here for Takuma Sato, considering what he thought of his car. I was just told by the team this is the highest that Takuma has run the entire season. Katie?
And Jan, Simon Pagenaud has finally got this universal Aero kit to work with him, and not only is he dealing with that confidence here, but he's also got a new voice in his headset. His strategist, John Boslog, is new to him. His usual strategist, Kyle Moyer, is off working on Team Penske's IMSA program.
The caution got Robert Wickens running in 6th, back on the lead lap, and what a drive this is for the rookie who said, I've taken to everything pretty well, but this one was the most foreign track I've ever been to. But here just a little while ago, he said, I'm starting to understand things a little bit better. The pit box is telling him, you're really getting the hang of this. Watch out for Robert Wickens. Behind him, we're going to see Ryan Hunter-Reay in that yellow DHL car. Hunter Power works on him for position. This is for 7th. Hunter-Reay and Gosselin traditionally improved the car throughout the race. Remember, last year he went from 15th to 3rd throughout this race, and we're still just a little more than halfway through. Meanwhile, Will Power, right behind him in that silver Verizon car, is trying to make up for a rough first stint. He goes to the bottom side. He's going to go side by side. Power is going to clear Hunter-Reay for 7th. Trying to come back into this one after winning his 52nd pole yesterday. That is only one behind A.J. Foyt for 2nd, Jan.
And Ed Carpenter has a great seat looking at that action up ahead of him. At his last pit stop for Ed Carpenter, he said, I don't want any changes. He definitely wanted changes early on, but now he's happy with the car. So he and Spencer Pigot looking good today. Graham Rahal, however, is not on the lead lap, as was mentioned up top by Townsend Lee and, of course, Paul. And that's going to be a tough road. They're going to need a caution to get him leapfrog back on the lead lap. Not happy with how that's working at the moment. Now, Scott Dixon, this is a little bit of damage management, I suppose you would say, trying to get the best they can. The car is faster now, but he lost the majority of his time in the first stint when he couldn't really get this dialed in the way he wanted, Kevin.
And Alexander Rossi trying to climb back into this. Remember, he fell 2 laps down because they had a slow pit stop. That's because the throttle stuck. That's why he couldn't get out. And remember, at Phoenix, Alexander Rossi races back from 2 laps down, so don't totally count him out yet, Diff.
And Kev, look at this. Josef Newgarden has company, and close company. Look at that gold and black arrow car for Schmidt-Peterson, driven by James Hinchcliffe. He's got to try and clear Max Chilton here effectively to hang in there with Newgarden.
Just like on the last stint, Hinchcliffe appears to be stronger in traffic and later in the stint than Newgarden. Hinchcliffe easily will clear Andretti there, and Andretti held up Newgarden a little bit previous lap exiting 4, so Hinch really showing his stuff.
Tell you what, though, Newgarden is a master of just managing the gap. We saw the last race at Elkhart Lake. He just let guys sit there, and he just watched his rearview mirror and kept him where he wanted. So yeah, but I don't think he's really sticking his neck out.
Paul, that was Road America with clean air up front, none of this lap traffic. We've seen 2 instances today with Sato and with his teammate Will Power, where Newgarden got really out of shape down low, and I think he's a little gun shy right now through lap traffic.
Here is the order. Newgarden, Hinchcliffe, half a second. That's it. Piggott, 3 seconds further back, and Sato on the inside.
Whoa.
Takuma Sato and Spencer Piggott wheel to wheel, and Spencer Piggott decided just to ease out of that one as Sato moves his way into the top 3.
We talked about the way race control is watching the races these days, and Sato taking a lesson from Alexander Rossi, who showed him some tough driving last week at Road America. Sato putting it to good work now, playing to the rule book this race at Iowa.
Sato was fighting to stay on the lead lap. Now he's worked his way back up to 3rd as we see a replay. He stuffs it down the inside of Piggott. Piggott gets loose right in the middle of the corner here. Big correction, and Sato gets to drive off.
But I think it is this very skillful and professional way that all of the drivers have driven each other today. Hence the reason we've only had 1 caution in 174 laps.
Well, there's something about 180 miles an hour on a 7/8 mile oval that breeds respect.
It makes you drive that way. Just that little thing of 180 plus. So it's Newgarden's day at the moment, but has the mayor of Hinchtown got something to say about it? Time at 8 p.m. Eastern Wall, right here on NBCSN, and as part of the NBC Sports Championship season presented by Canada Dry Ginger Ale and Lemonade. As we head to pit lane, here's Katie.
And Lee, this is the most competitive we've seen James Hinchcliffe all season, so let's check in with the strategist Taylor Kyle. Taylor, what's working for you guys this weekend on the 5 car?
Well, I think the team's been really good, and James is in a great mental space here. He's been excellent all weekend, and he's driving his butt off, so that's all we can ask here.
Do you have anything for Josef Newgarden?
Yeah, I think so. We're matching him time for time here. We're just kind of cruising behind him. We'll see what we have at the end.
See if they can put on a show for us, Jan.
Yes, and Bobby Rahal is on the radio with Takuma Sato. Boy, this car has really come alive for you as well. Is it because of the hot track temperatures? He looks like he hit it right on.
Well, so far, I don't know if we quite have the pace of Newgarden yet, but in general, the longer the run, the better we are. So, you know, now Newgarden's being held up by traffic a bit, so, you know, hopefully we can you know, catch up to him. But so far, so good.
So in your case, you're hoping for no yellow because your tires are better at the end of the stint?
Well, I mean, you know, I think we've been pretty consistent on the longer run, so, you know, really it's going to depend on what the top 2 guys do. You know, we don't want to get out of sync with them, so we'll let them see what the strategy is. But right now, we're pretty happy.
Thank you, Bobby. And one quick note: Takuma Sato, of course, has led this year. He is running now in a higher position than his best finish. Kevin?
Tim Cindric is on the box calling strategy for Josef Newgarden. Any concerns for him at all today?
Just Hinchcliffe right now, but the car's been good. It just seems to free up at the end of the run, but you guys continue to make the cars better and better. Obviously, during the race, and lap traffic becomes a bigger player as we go on.
If no yellows, so I assume 1 stop. How is he at the end of the tire life?
Yeah, it gets pretty free for us at the end of the tire life, so I think that somewhere around lap 220 or so, you'll see everybody start coming.
All right, thank you, Tim Cindric.
And Tim had to deal with a pretty scary moment on Friday night with the Xfinity Series race at Daytona with his son, Austin, getting involved in a big crash and rolling. Austin was okay, though.
Rahal used the pick there, Townsend, to keep Newgarden behind him, so he got in between Andretti. So Andretti was the pick there for him.
Yeah, Marco's 4 laps down, so I think he'll do the right thing, and he does, getting out of the way of this battle. But as you said, Paul, Rahal's going to make it hard because Rahal has a pretty good car. His pace has been great, so he's desperate to stay on that lead lap. But I think Tim Cindric said it all as we listen to radio on Newgarden.
Let me know Hinch's lane usage. He's following you, running just a half car length tire.
So a little bit of
keep adjusting it.
That's all right. A little bit of concern there for Newgarden, just wanting to know what's Hinch doing, because I think Newgarden can tell Hinch is stronger, especially late in the run. And when we get to the last pit stop, that's really important because Newgarden will want to try to stay out as long as he can to protect against a yellow coming out. But he won't want to stay out too long because he knows he's going really loose. It's going to be a really tough decision for Team Penske. When do they bring him in for the final stop?
Yeah, I just think it's great information that he's even thinking about that. Hey, what lane is he using? He's up high, is he down low? So he's going to know later on in the race where he needs to protect the position. But he's done such a masterful job of just, when he falls back, he just creeps back out again. And if he falls back, he creeps back out. He's just pacing himself and not sticking his neck out.
And it's about 1.5 seconds now between Newgarden and Hinchcliffe, which is the biggest distance we've seen in quite some time. Sato maintains third. Piggott and Robert Wickens has worked his way up to the top 5. Robin?
Well, we're in the heart of sprint car country, Lee, not too far from Knoxville Raceway, but this race started out as a Saturday night race, and they had to bring in extra bleachers when they first started here. Then they moved the date to Sunday, late after Sunday afternoon. Then they moved it to early Sunday afternoon. And in talking to the track president, David Hyatt, today, their goal is to have this race back on Saturday night next year, which is really what they want to see because they think they probably lost a third of their fans. Not a bad crowd today, but Saturday night seems to be the night for racing here in Iowa, and I think we're going to see it back here on Saturday night next year.
And that fits with the sprint car theme, right? So good stuff. And once again, Iowa and everybody involved here has turned on a wonderful weekend for the Verizon IndyCar Series. Newgarden has now led 175 laps. Verizon IndyCar Series on the streets of Toronto, and coverage begins at 3 o'clock Eastern right here on NBCSN. And I tell you what, there's a few things going on with the Canadian flair, and it's appropriate that James Hinchcliffe's in the mix today because it will be the first time that 3 Canadians are at the Toronto event since 2006 when it was PT, Alex Tagliani and Andrew Ranger. And speaking of Toronto, last year there was plenty going on as well with threatening weather, but it was Josef Newgarden who came out on top. And Paul, you're going to sit down with fellow Canadians, James Hinchcliffe and Robert Wickens, in a special discussion. You'll film that on, you'll shoot that on Thursday, and we'll show it during our race coverage. Looking forward to that. I mean, and for you, going back to your hometown of Toronto, you got to be excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a great opportunity for us to sit down and just have a casual, open conversation about how the season's gone. And wouldn't it be great if these guys had their best, especially Hinchcliffe, his best result of the year coming in to his hometown race. And this Canadian, we're hearing, might have a problem. Kevin, what do you hear?
Yeah, he's talking first about a little bit of understeer, and then he just came on about 4 or 5 laps ago and said really, really bad vibration. So he's trying to hang on. We're maybe 5 to 15 laps away from the final stop. Now, as he learned another new track, which he said was the most difficult he's been to, he obviously was going to watch some video, and he relies on his teammate. He wanted to watch video of this race, and James Hinchcliffe said, you need to watch 2013. That's where you learn the best. Robbie told me, I watched it and then found out, well, yeah, there's a reason he wanted me to watch that. That's the race I won.
Well, he's under no pressure from anybody. He's not battling anybody, so he can just pace this out. You see there's nobody really behind him except Pagenaud, so he's just got to ride this out, Towns, until he can get to the pit stops.
James Hinchcliffe we ride with the nose cam. Enjoy this for a moment. He's less than a second behind Newgarden. Lap 2:12. We're into the final third of this race.
Look at that line of traffic in front of Newgarden as we watch here.
Well, speaking of traffic for Newgarden, he's just had a heck of a time getting around Graham Rahal. the last 20 or 30 laps. Graham's doing a good job to stay on the lead lap. As you can tell on the onboard, Hinchcliffe about to wreck. Big slide.
Yeah, he a big snap oversteers as we see Clayman DeMello go back by.
That was very reminiscent, fellas, of what happened yesterday in qualifying to James Hinchcliffe.
Oh, he's going to almost touch tires with Ed Jones there, so he's definitely this dirty air now that they're getting up in front of him has made his car loose. Look at, he's way off the pace now.
We just get to the window, we'll fix this.
Let's watch this again. You can see Hinch gets a little high there.
Sato got by.
Yes.
Look, here's Sato right here. He got by from position.
Second spot to the Rahal Letterman Lanigan driver of the MyJack machine. So Hinch back to third. Here comes Spencer Piggott in fourth, taking a look at James. Pagenaud maintains his position in sixth behind Robert Wickens, Hunter Ray, Power, Carpenter, and Rahal in the top 10. And speaking of the top 10, Graham is the last car on the lead lap.
And I think you're going to see some critical decisions now. 84 laps to go. Tim Cindric said around lap 220 for the final pit stop. I think you'll see a lot of the cars try to hang out and see if they catch a yellow to make their stop rather than having to do it on green, as we see Newgarden working lap 217.
And Newgarden really doesn't have any urgency to really pass Rahal. His pace, Rahal, is good enough that he's not under any threat. The problem you might have is maybe as a team they say, hey, Rahal, try to back up so we can get Sato up to the back of Newgarden.
But I think somebody here on the lead lap should gamble right now. Pit now, get on fresh tires, and see if you can make up a pretty good gap by going to fresh rubber early.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see who might take a chance. Maybe that's Graham Rahal. Maybe that's somebody like Ed Carpenter, also on the lead lap, currently in ninth.
And Townsend, I love that strategy because right now, if you were to stop, you could get home on tires and fuel. So if you think there's not going to be another caution to where you could run fast before the other people stop, I like that strategy. Someone needs to take that gamble soon if it's going to work.
Well, it's the old adage, isn't it? Be the first to stop last. Why not? Take a shot.
Well, the reason why you wouldn't, of course, is the risk. Because if you pit under green, you're going to go at least a lap down, and then if a yellow comes in that danger zone,
you're done.
You're fully exposed. Riding on board with Carpenter now. Let's just listen to the throttle application at the end of the stint, how patient you have to be picking up the throttle.
Gotta run. Fell back to 4.
Watch the nose of Graham's car here is working all over the back of Ed Carpenter. These guys are just having a hard time. He's got a nice little run here, so we'll see if Ed defends. So
Force to be able to go on it.
So Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to be the first of the lead lap cars to come in and make that final stop. He'll be fine on fuel. You might even see most of those coming in at this point short fuel because they've been getting such good mileage. Let's see if they do anything to the car. Hunter-Reay is back out with Sunoco fuel, Jan.
And we've talked about taking that gamble, so here's a couple that are going to do that. Spencer Piggott's been very happy with his car, but he loves his car, as every driver does, on new tires, and he's coming to get them. Katie.
Hinchcliffe lost a position during that stint to Takuma Sato. He's running third right now. He asked the team to take out a wing adjustment. You see that happening right now, Kevin.
Will Power comes out after making his final stop, and here comes the leader. He's dominated this race. Josef Newgarden at 50 miles per hour down the pit lane, waiting for his easy in. We also see Robbie Wickens, who had been really hoping to get in that final stop. Hunter-Reay is coming back in. We'll check in a moment. We'll watch the leader. Is this a race-winning pit stop for Josef Newgarden? They were talking about a front wing adjustment, don't see any, and Newgarden is back out with a really good final stop.
Kev, Ryan Hunter-Reay keeps weaving side to side. He did it on the first stop. He did it on this return to pit lane. There's something not quite right with the DHL car.
And remember,
they're talking about a toe link problem. They're talking about a toe link problem for Hunter-Reay.
Remember, at the start of the race, Hunter-Reay couldn't communicate with his team.
On his first stop, I noticed he had some hand signals feverishly trying to
this,
signal to the crowd, so to his team. So there's definitely something going on with the rear of his car.
Takuma Sato has been on the radio. They asked him, does he want a front wing change? He has decided, no, I do not want any changes. Now, because he's pitting a lap later, look to see where he is at 7.5 seconds. Look to see where he cycles back in. He was one more lap. I think that stopping earlier, you're going to get what's known as the undercut.
So we would expect Newgarden's gap to increase over Sato once everything cycles through. There goes Piggott, so Sato falls behind Piggott as he has to blend back in. There goes Wickens, also for position. So now Sato's got to try to reel everybody back in. Can anybody touch Newgarden?
There goes Scott Dixon in the PNC Bank Honda, and will lose almost half his points advantage today, actually more than half his points advantage today, if positions stay as is over the following 71 laps.
Looks like Hunter Ray's back up to speed, but he's now 3 laps down because he came back down the pit lane.
Josef Newgarden defending the one. That's what he likes to say that he's doing. He wants to keep this championship, get another one. He's ahead of Spencer Piggott and James Hinchcliffe.
Josef Newgarden continues to dominate Iowa. We saw just a few moments ago Ryan Hunter-Reay take a second stop after what he thought was going to be his final pit stop. So he was a lead lap car. Now he's 3 laps down. Remember earlier we said that he couldn't communicate with the team. So actually, they're communicating by keying the radio. He thought there was something wrong with the rear of the car, keyed that in. They said, if you still feel like there's a problem, come back in. They looked at it, they looked at the rear of the car. They didn't find anything, so they think the car is okay, but that's one of the hazards of not being actually able to verbally communicate, is they simply lose 3 laps, but better safe than sorry. He's still got a chance to finish this race.
Yeah, it's going to hurt him a lot in points, Kev. He's 14th in this race right now. He'll drop from 2nd to 4th in the points as we run right now. And speaking of running, James Hinchcliffe continues to chase down that bright green fuzzy Chevrolet of Spencer Piggott. Spencer has never finished on an IndyCar Series podium. This could be his best career day, and he's fighting off James Hinchcliffe.
Guy I'm also watching is Hinchcliffe's teammate Robert Wickens, quietly stalking about a second back of Hinchcliffe as Piggott gets by Rossi, who's now 2 laps down.
Rough day for Rossi so far as Hinchcliffe goes down the inside. Whoa, on some hard around the outside downs, and it doesn't make it easy for him.
No, and Rossi, of course, furious about his fortunes here, trying to make up for that stalled pit stop earlier. And this is frustrating. If you're Hinchcliffe right now, you're like, dude, come on, help me out.
This doesn't make for good conversations in the gym on Monday, Tuesday before they go to Toronto. These guys all work out at the same gym together in Indianapolis, and there's been some tense conversations there from Wickens and Rossi.
What's going to happen when Wickens comes up to Alexander Rossi to try to put him 2 laps down also? How hard does he make Wickens' life after last weekend? Maybe he makes up for it.
Well, both the Canadians from Schmidt-Peterson have such a busy schedule, and Paul, you know this all too well. When you go to your home race, their schedule is so busy this week. They head out of here tonight. They head up to Toronto tonight.
They've got a full week of media and sponsor expectations, so it makes for an exhausting week, and by the time you get to the racetrack, you're just relieved that now you finally can just concentrate on the race car and be at the track.
There's the 27 and the 6 together again. Seems like every race.
Yep.
Every race we see these two going at it.
Here we go. Will this be fairly straightforward? Yep.
Yes.
So Wickens, who runs 4th. You know what? He has this I want to say it's a humble goal. He says, I've got the same goal whenever I go to any oval, and that is to A, to finish, and B, if I drive well enough, I should be in the top 10. He's in the top 4. Phoenix, he could have won the race, finished 2nd. Texas was running well, had that collision with Ed Carpenter. I mean, what he's done on ovals this year has been fantastic.
I'm going to start calling him sandbags, because every time we talk to him, he keeps downplaying his oval performance and has this sort of all shucks attitude, like, I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm just trying to figure it out. But he's mastered it almost from day one.
When you get phone calls from the boss of Mercedes-Benz Motorsport, Toto Wolff, who he used to drive for in DTM, of course, congratulating him on his IndyCar performance this year, you know you're doing a good job. Here comes Hinch on Spencer Piggott. I'm just thinking about the Piggott family and Spencer's dad, Barry, who happens to be English. He's already celebrating England going through into the World Cup semi-finals. If he can now see his boy stand on an IndyCar podium, this will be quite the week for the Piggott family.
Well, these guys are fighting hard, but they're not very far behind Newgarden, who is battling right there with Dixon just in front of them. You put Dixon another lap down. So Dixon 2 laps down in 10th place. But these guys running second and third are right with Newgarden. So any mistake by Newgarden, they're going to be right on top of him.
Watch Hinch.
Run back. A look inside here, inside.
Whoa. Looked like Piggott
Follow him and go.
just barely clearing the right rear of Hinch as he turned in. Now,
that's it. Stay with him.
Hinchcliffe can put his head down and try and maximize this part of the tire stint where he's been stronger than Newgarden. Once he clears Dixon, it's on.
Just was passed a note. How many passes do you think have happened on track today? PT, you first. Rough guess.
I don't know, but there's been a lot of passing. I would say it's probably close to a record.
Feels like thousands to me.
Over 800 passes on track.
Wasn't that far off.
Yeah, I know.
We haven't had a lot of passes for the lead because Newgarden has basically controlled it, but from second all the way back through the rest of the field, it's been non-stop action.
Look at where Newgarden is. Sitting in lap traffic.
And
Hinchcliffe's coming and coming hard. This is what we've been waiting for.
48 laps to go, and this could prove to be a thriller.
Well, again, we got lap traffic, a line of cars in front of Newgarden. Newgarden picks his way through carefully, but Hinchcliffe right now has got a nice little run coming off of 2.
Here we go, James Hinchcliffe. Now Newgarden dives for the inside, gets by Max Chilton. That'll help for the meantime. But the speed of that Arrow Honda, driven by James Hinchcliffe, is impressive.
And I think there'll be urgency from Hinchcliffe on this lap because the next lap car up ahead is Newgarden's teammate Will Power. He might factor into this somehow, some way with a little subtle difficulties for Hinchcliffe. Let's see what happens.
With 48 laps to go, Will Power will not make it easy because if there's a yellow, he's still in this thing. So
a win here
Wicken on the outside, or the nice run on the outside. Look at this.
It's on.
For the lead of the race, James Hinchcliffe goes. And goes aggressively.
We got a new leader. We got a new leader.
Look at that. James Hinchcliffe takes it to Newgarden and now takes off.
And that was the answer to the question. Power gave no love to Newgarden because Power went high. He's not giving love to Hinchcliffe either. Power wants to stay on the lead lap.
He gave no love to Hinchcliffe. Newgarden trying to fight back. Newgarden knows he's got to try to get back by in this lap traffic. 3 wide down the front straightaway.
Big move. Big move from Hinchcliffe.
Power still not giving it up. Wants to stay on the lead lap. I think he's going to get taken here. He's boxed in by Marco. He slides by Marco, so he got clear with the pick move.
Now Newgarden's going to be checked up because Power's down low, forcing him into dirty air. So Newgarden is going to lose over a second in that last 2 to 3 laps.
Well, Newgarden's got to get by these guys because look at the lead that Hinchcliffe's now stretched out to a second lead.
And that low line has worked really well for James Hinchcliffe. Those inside moves are decisive, and this Schmidt-Peterson Honda has performed beautifully today.
1.3 seconds.
A win here in Iowa could help ease the pain of not making it to the Indy 500 this year. Can he get his second win here in the Heartland? You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Tag Heuer, official timepiece of the IndyCar Series. By Luther Automotive Group. Find us on the web at lutherauto.com. And by Iowa Corn. Iowa corn farmers grow corn for feed, food, and fuel. What a day it's been here in Iowa. Welcome back. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy with you here. The Iowa Corn 300 being led by James Hinchcliffe. Hasn't won an IndyCar race since the streets of Long Beach last year. And boy, would a win do so much for him. Josef Newgarden's not letting him get too far away, though, as Newgarden is just under a second behind, Kevin.
And if you stepped out for a little bit and just came back, you're probably pretty surprised to see that Josef Newgarden is not in the lead. He seemed pretty surprised, too, after Hinchcliffe got by him. He needed some explaining, talking with Tim Cindric on the radio about how did this happen?
How is Hinch ahead? He's the leader. He's been a second and a half, 3 seconds behind us. Here's the guy.
And then right after that, he was also asking when he pitted, where things are at, and they're on a pretty similar pitch strategy just a lap or two later. And then he wanted some help to get by Will Power, which he did pretty quickly after that. So now they've got to refocus, try to go back to what they've had, the best car all weekend, and see if they can reel in James Hinchcliffe.
Kind of surprising, Paul, that Newgarden wouldn't know that whole time.
Got a little overconfident with his lead. He thought he had everybody covered, but the next guy up the road right here is Simon Pagenaud. I would have thought that he was going to make it harder work and try to back him up to his teammate, but he's not fast enough to really do anything. Right now, Hinchcliffe's got the best car on track as he's pulled back away on Newgarden, who was right there when Hinch was having a hard time with those lap cars.
But I think it's going to get a little messier here for Hinch as he comes across some cars that may or may not care one bit, as Wickens trying to go around Dixon. Now, Dixon made a bit of a surprise pit stop, didn't take fuel, but took tires, so Dixon should be really fast right now, and this could be a challenge for Wickens, who's trying to get into that lead pack and mix it up at the finish.
Well, Wickens is just behind now Piggott. He's closed up the gap to Piggott, so he's definitely trying to push for a Schmidt-Peterson podium here, finish for the team, which would be fantastic going into the Canadian race next week.
Wickens is about 2 seconds behind Spencer Piggott. I mentioned before a win today would help ease the pain of not making it to the Indy 500 for James Hinchcliffe. How good, to your point, Paul, heading to your home race as the most recent winner in the Verizon IndyCar Series.
You guys were just documenting that Scott Dixon had just come into the pits and taken tires. Of course, that put him back to 14th position. He still leads as they run the points championship at the moment, but he had to come in. You can see how racy new tires are right now. But for Scott Dixon, I just spoke to the team. They said, we had to pit. We had so much understeer. We wore out the front tires. We had to come in. That's not a good day for Dixon.
Racy car, but he's 4 laps down now as Hunter Ray comes in again. Now he's 5 laps down. His lead's going to be 6 laps down probably. So a promising day has quickly unraveled for both Dixon and Hunter Ray.
So if I said to you when we were down on the pre-grid in the pre-race show, the top 2 in the championship would be 4 and 5 laps down respectively at the end of today's race, you would have said, get out.
I know, but this is IndyCar. Look at this pack of cars right here. Will Power on the move on Dixon here. 3 wide, 4 wide down the front straightaway.
Scenes of Fontana and Pocono of years gone by.
Cars now slipping and sliding all over the place. We're getting late in the race. Tires wear.
Wickens and Piggott.
Wickens has caught Piggott. They're side by side. And he's got him. Slide job up in front of him. Stealing the line away from him, just like Dale Jr. says. That was a perfect slide job.
Well, I was about to say, well, Piggott got caught out in traffic. Young driver still learning, but Wickens is a rookie.
Yeah.
Talk about still learning. He really is done with that process because he mastered the art of working his way through traffic.
Gets by Kimball. Piggott is high. Tucks in beside. Gets by Pagenaud.
That was close.
Nice job. But good driving too from Spencer Piggott.
Yes.
To see that Wickens had the momentum.
I wonder if Wickens thought about Texas in that moment. Oh, here we go again, going into turn 3.
Less than 20 laps to go, and 2 Schmidt-Peterson Hondas in the top 3.
Right now, Wickens is 5 seconds behind Newgarden. Newgarden not particularly quick, so he might have an opportunity to close that gap on him.
We talked a lot about what Robert Wickens is dealing with and how this track was so different than anything else he's been to. Specifically, he said, it's learning how to run the second lane. That's what's different. I can run on the bottom line, and I'm faster on the bottom line, but I'm not used to running in the second and the third lane. He said he felt a little bit better in the second and final practice yesterday, and he expected or at least hoped to be able to get better at that and learn throughout the race. I'd say he's done that.
5-second lead right now for James Hinchcliffe. He's got plenty of breathing room. He doesn't have to do anything risky.
Now, Will Power might be frustrated a little further back than he'd like to be. A lap down in 6th. But he does win today's Tag Heuer fastest lap of the race at just over 170 miles per hour. That was very early on in this race. 16 laps to go here in Iowa, and this has not panned out the way that we would thought.
Not at all. Newgarden, I think, is as shocked as anybody because of the performance of James Hinchcliffe, Katie.
And guys, as these laps wind down, I have not heard a peep from James Hinchcliffe. The only thing I've heard over the radio as we see Dixon go under Josef Newgarden there, the only thing I've heard on the radio for James Hinchcliffe is the team coaching him where each of the Team Penske cars are, and they also said, we need you to save a little bit of the tires for those last 5 laps. That's going to be really important as we get to the checkered flag.
Well, if we get a yellow late in the race here, it's definitely going to be a race for the pit lane because we see how fast new tires are, but that is not what James Hinchcliffe wants right now, to get in a pit stop race with the Penske team because they are so quick in the pit lane. He's just got to hope this thing rides out and just maintain this nice 7-second lead that he's got now.
Hunter Ray back to pit lane, and it looks like they just can't figure out what the problem is. They're looking at the steering rack, going to...
I wonder if they got another issue with the front steering camber issue they had with the cars last week.
Yeah, Beach
steering
had an
geometry.
issue. Rossi had a camber shim fall out. You can see Hunter Ray's giving the kill sign like we're done. Yeah.
Hinchcliffe coming up to lap Bourdais. Bourdais been the guy who's gone the longest on tires of anybody. Second stint, he went 91, first stint 91 laps. Right now, Hinchcliffe has got a big lead. He's still pulling away from Newgarden, and Newgarden is backing up to Wickens.
He's coming up on Ed Jones.
That's Jones in front of you.
And eases past Ed. I don't want to forget the fact to mention and congratulate Dario Franchitti, a 4-time series champion. He's on Ed Jones's box, works in a coaching and mentoring role. Dario, along with Don Schumacher, Tony Stewart, and many others, have just been named in next year's Hall of Fame induction. So well done, Dario. Super stuff. I caught up with him last night briefly, and he's enjoying post-racing life.
This will be a popular win for James with a lot of the other guys in the paddock, a lot of his co-drivers like Dario, like Dixon. He gets along well with everybody, so this will be a really popular win and a long time coming.
Inside the final 10 laps. And Hinchcliffe is growing his advantage. It's now nearly 9 seconds over Josef Newgarden. We're riding with Scott Dixon. Remember those fresh tires late in the race, but it's been a head-scratch day for Dixon. It's been pretty frustrating. But if he maintains his position... Oh, what's happened to Ed Carpenter?
Come on. Ed Carpenter got massively loose, might have brushed the wall. Let's hope yellow for James, since that they don't pull out a yellow, and it goes yellow. So we're going to have a shootout here, and it's going to be a tire shootout.
5 cars on the lead lap. You'd have to think they all come to pit lane if this finishes under green.
Hit the wall coming out of 2.
This is not what James wanted. Like I said earlier, there's a piece of debris right in the middle of the track, so they have to go yellow for this. This is, as we see now, he gets really loose, sideways, crossed up.
Oh,
Sato. Sato hits his front wing.
That's terrible for Sato, who was running 5th and so strong.
Look at his crossed hands, big slide, sprint car style, and Sato had really nowhere to go.
Sato straightened out Ed Carpenter. Carpenter would have spun, but Sato saved the day for Ed.
Well, we're going to see, guys, who are going to be the takers for tires. I think if it was me, I would get tires because they are so much faster.
Yes. Oh, yeah. But can IndyCar get everybody packed up in time?
5 guys on the lead lap, and we are going to have a crazy shootout here at the end.
So it'd be 4 to go at the line.
Yeah.
And at this point, Hinch is going, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, but Hinch was almost a part of that.
Yes.
Go low.
Genius piece of driving by Sato.
4 to go now. I don't think they're going to have time to really do tires. So he might get lucky here and have a green-white checker. Is almost out of the picture.
And guys, I'm listening to James Hinchcliffe's radio, and there's a big battle. Do we come in or do we not? The team was telling him there's just 4 laps to go, but James made the final call. The pits are open. We'll see if James comes in, but the radio call was, nope, he is not going to come in, guys.
Well, Ed's coming down the pit lane. He's got damage Ray Hall.
Newgarden's in. Now, is there time to do the wave around for the lap cars?
Now
is there time?
This is Phoenix all over again when Wickens was leading and Wickens stayed out. Now Wickens has come in, and it was Newgarden with fresh tyres that spoiled the Wickens party in Phoenix. Here we go. Is it going to be the other way around, Kev?
So Josef Newgarden will take the tires. It's an empty pit lane because it's only lead lap cars. This is a really quick stop. There was no big hurry. He's not racing anyone off pit road. So can he make his way back through what? 4 cars on the lead lap. Robert Wickens also took tires back out, running side by side off the pit lane with Simon Pagenaud.
This could be bad news for Hinch.
Well, they got to get them lined up first, but they got to let the lap cars pit next and then get them lined up. So they might run out of time to really do anything. But if they do go green and they're lined up nose to tail, he's dead meat.
I don't know how this is going to work out because there'll be 1 to go next time by. And the guys that took tires.
By, buddy.
I don't.
Not called anything here.
I don't think this is going to work out for the timing of how many laps there are because mass confusion at the back of the field here.
Paul.
Let's be ready here. Let's be ready.
Get ready, and this has elevated Spencer Piggott to second, and Takuma Sato with a wounded race car up to third.
But there's so many cars for them to get around in 1 lap if the pace car comes in.
Lights are off. That means we should be going green this time by.
No,
lights are back on.
All right, amigo. You are coming to the white flag. I do believe by the rule that you will be the winner of the Iowa Corn.
Wow.
300.
Well, not the way you would want the race to end. We were going to hope for a shootout or just a straight finish, but this got confusing.
It was close, though. I'd say within 1 lap.
Pitting cost Newgarden 2 positions. Piggott now, his best finish of his career. Newgarden back to 4th, who dominated all weekend.
And Sato on the podium as well. So almost guaranteed podiums for Newgarden and Wickens have now evaporated and elevated a Spencer Piggott and Takuma Sato. However, the day belongs to the mayor of Hinchtown. James Hinchcliffe had the most gut-wrenching experience of his life this year, not making the 500, but he wins the Iowa Corn 300.
Excellent. That's exactly what we needed right now. Excellent work, buddy. Missed that flight, huh? Yeah, absolutely, man. Make sure we make it into victory line, buddy.
Hey, James, Paul Tracy on the radio. How about that, buddy? Fought all day going into Canada with a win.
Man, what a way to do it. We had such a strong car from the beginning. We made a little change in the first stop, didn't go great. Tried to undo it in the second stop, went too far, but that last stop, we brought back that Aero Electronics rocket ship, and man, it feels good to do the double here, second time in Iowa. Pretty excited about that.
All right, well, I can't wait to meet you up in Toronto. We're going to have lunch. Let's have a beer and celebrate.
That, my friend, is a deal.
Light 'em up, baby.
There's no one more charismatic in this IndyCar field than James Hinchcliffe. He is a fan favorite, and this win will resonate. And if you were on the fence in Toronto about coming out to the race, I think your decision has been made for you. Come and see James Hinchcliffe, Robert Wickens, and Zach Clayman DeMello, 3 Canadians in next weekend's Toronto race. And there will be reason to celebrate after this today.
Well, we thought it was going to be a snoozer all day. Newgarden just was killing everybody, and it all went completely upside down in the last 100 laps.
Well, and to repeat what you said, Paul, for him to now come home 4th, he's just got to be devastated. Not only did not win after being so dominant, but then this weird situation at the end where they pitted. He's just going, what? How did that happen?
You can see he's very dejected just by the body language getting out of the car. It's like, how did this all unravel? We dominated, but look, he's just tapping his guys. Normally he's so upbeat, but that's all you can do. But you got to look at the points. Dixon, 12th place. Piggott, his best finish. His boss right there, really happy for him.
And there's Robert Wickens, who saw a potential podium evaporate, but still a mighty run from Wickens, and he'll be pleased for his closest mate, James Hinchcliffe. get ready for the celebration to begin. So we're getting word that the top 3 have been confirmed, to state the obvious, but we're waiting on official results from 4 down. But that's how they come across the line anyway. We will follow that up in our post-race show, but no doubt about the podium finishes at all. Let's go down to Victory Circle. Time to celebrate with Hench.
And from missing the Indianapolis 500 to Victory Lane here at Iowa Speedway, we're giving Hench just a minute to celebrate with the team. Get his helmet off.
Unexpected to start today, but really proud of everyone that comes to the race. And Sunday Bobcat, Chevrolet. I mean, they gave me a great car. You know, we didn't have a great day yesterday, but
you can see the relief on James's face. It's been a tough season, a tough comeback. And here comes the victory celebration here at Iowa Speedway. James, it's been a long road to hoe. James, after missing the Indianapolis 500 to Victory Lane here at Iowa Speedway, how much of a relief is getting here?
Oh man, I mean, for everybody at Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, the whole Aero Electronics team, this is such a good feeling. You know, after what happened in May, we knew we had it. You know, we knew we had it in us, and to come here and do it like that. I mean, didn't qualify the best, but we had a good car, and first stint was great. Second stint we made a change, went a little too far, went too far the other way the next stop, but that last stop, the thing was a rocket ship, and great battles there with Spencer and Josef at the end, and guys were great in the pits, and Honda Power back on top, just going into Toronto like this. I'm just so stoked.
Josef, we heard over the radio, he didn't even know where you came from.
Yeah, good. That plays into my hands. No, but you know, he ran such a dominant race all day. I know it's tough to fall behind at the end like that, but man, he's done it. He's done it flag to flag here before. We kind of did it flag to flag in 13. It's nice to kind of race our way up to the front. Like I said, head to Toronto like this, and it's kind of say hi to my girlfriend Becky and my mom and dad back home. Nobody was here this weekend, unfortunately, so I'm kind of solo. But this just feels so good.
I heard the battle over the radio in those closing laps. Were you going to take tires, or were you not? What made the final decision for you?
Honestly, it was just a number of laps. You know, by the time you'd come out of the pits, it wasn't going to be enough, I thought, especially if at least one guy didn't do it. So ultimately the right call. I mean, that would have been a disaster if it didn't go green after taking tires. So, you know, Taylor and Todd, Willa, my engineer, everybody on the stand, Kenny, Luba, Nick, thanks so much for everything. I just can't believe it. This is great.
6th career win for James Hinchcliffe, Kevin. I think it's going to be a party at the Schmidt-Peterson camp tonight.
Well, there are a lot of things to go through for Josef Newgarden, who had a really dominant day and a good result in 4th, but you're thinking, I'm sure, what could have been. First, let's go through when James got by you. Did you know that was for position?
Yeah, I mean, I was being told where it was at, and I think I was more surprised at how much he picked up. You know, I think we had a great car today. The Hitachi car right from the beginning of the weekend's been solid. Team Chevy did a great job. We had a good package. So I can't complain much. I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow. You see Hinch going by me here. We just didn't have it at the end, you know, and sometimes you can't forecast that completely. You know, we put on the car what we thought was going to be right for today, and I think for the first half of the race it was. I thought we had a great car, and, you know, it just went away from us. So tried to do what we could to get competitive there at the end, and we just ran out of time, you know, and again, you don't know how that's going to play out. You try and make the best bet possible, but the team did a great job. I think we picked up some valuable points, so look, we'll chalk it up to it was a great day. Could have been, but wasn't. So we'll go on to the next one and try and make it happen.
Did you get caught up at all behind your teammate Will there when James was getting by you?
No, if anything, Will helped me out. I mean, both Simon and Will, they were super nice to me. So they were super sporting. They're best teammates you can have. They helped me out, and that's how we work together at Team Penske. But congrats to Hinch. He did a great job. I mean, they had a good car at the end, so those guys deserve the win. We're just got to come back and try and best them next time. You know, go a little bit further in this race and have a good car at the end.
Last year's champ has moved up to 2nd now in points. Josef Newgarden. Robin?
Robert Wickens drove a hell of a race, had a podium, a sure podium. Your call to come in for tires or the teams?
No, it was the teams, but I mean, I don't know. I guess they said there's going to be 1 lap remaining, so we pit thinking, you know, we're at least going to be on the podium, and then they just threw the checkered. So we threw away podium, we threw away good points.
Tell you what, though, Paul Tracy and Townsend were like, this guy doesn't drive like a rookie, and this place kind of threw you coming in here, but what a performance. All the guys you passed today, all the way to get to 3rd.
It was a good day. I mean, the car was great. Hinch showed it. I mean, I think Hinch is exploiting everything this car could do today, and I was just driving a good car. So, you know, hats off to the team. I mean, you know, those 50-50 things I guess the series said there was going to go green, white, checkered, and then they just threw the checkered flag. So we figured we would go new tires, because why not? We knew that Josef was going to do it, so we figured we would still be third and see what happened there, and then they just threw the checkered flag, so we fell back to fifth.
All right, hell of a job by this kid, Jan.
And great job also for Spencer Pigot, of course. Best career finish for him as a second. At your very first time in Iowa, at least in an Indy car, what were the sensations of being up there, running with the top dogs, and really having a ton of speed?
Yeah, it was a tough race. Right from the get-go, I knew that we had a fast car the way we were getting through traffic, but I think as the stints went on, we just seemed to get stronger and stronger. And before we knew it, we were right up towards the front, which was great. And I can't thank the guys enough. My engineer, Matt, made some really good decisions and gave me a great car. The whole Ed Carpenter Racing team, Fuzzy's Vodka, Chevrolet, just a real team effort here. And it was fun. It was tough, a lot of close racing, but, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
All right, we'll let you go to the podium. He gets to celebrate. And one of the things he talked about, that decision not to make tires, took a big difference today for Spencer Pigot. That changed the outcome for the Iowa Corn 300.
I mean, the beacon's the beacon, right? It's just fourth and fifth that's in dispute?
Newgarden got out way ahead of Wickens from pit lane, so that shouldn't be a question.
Why would that matter?
What's going on?
Well, I mean, they supposedly these guys look like they're in big debate down there with. Why don't you go down there and chime in?
Think about it.
Hey, why don't you chew on this?
Welcome back to the Iowa Corn 300, where, of course, James Hinchcliffe scored a very popular victory, being able to celebrate in Victory Circle behind us. But there are other celebrations. There were some big moves at the very end of the race, including Takuma Sato, who, ahead of you, Ed Carpenter starts to spin, and you make contact. Let's take a look at this, because you said, what on earth happened there?
I know, it's a tough, so he got obviously slide, and I was already inside, and I didn't see it much. It was suddenly it coming to chop into the inside of me, so it got me surprised, but I must save him big time then.
Yes, you saved him certainly crashing, but was your car damaged? Had you gone back to green, would your car have been okay?
Yeah, I think our car is absolutely fine. It didn't get any puncture, or maybe there was a little bit scratch on the bodywork, but my car was fine. So if it's happened to the another green for the 2 laps, I would go for it for the, another praise maybe.
So best finish of the season for you on a weekend where at the beginning you just were not happy at all. So how did that come together?
No, I mean, as we skipped the test last week, I mean, we were truly struggling at the first practice session, and we got really well. So, you know, I'm very happy, and strength and engineering, particularly for them, it's just an outstanding job. So it's a great compliment for the number 30 car, and Panasonic Magic Honda was really fast today. I know a lot of people are unhappy today. A lot of people struggled, and hopefully we were not the one we struggled. And in the end, we enjoyed the race, so it's a fantastic achievement.
And that is 3 consecutive top 10s for Takuma Sato. Katie?
And points leader Scott Dixon brings it home 12th today. Scott, it looked like you were struggling a little bit today. What were you dealing with?
Yeah, the first stint we just, I think it was all-round grip. We were mostly loose, and we worked on it. It got better throughout the race. Then we had a bit of a overheating issue where we could only use one gear at a time, let it cool off, and then we could go back, and we're shifting 5-6 times a lap. So that definitely hampered us for a little bit there. It actually got stuck in 4th for quite a while, and then we lost a few spots. And then unfortunately we got the front tires on the wrong way. We had the left on the right, which the left front's really soft, so it was quite quick for a few laps. But then after 20 laps, they were shot, and we had to add a stop, which put us down another 2 laps. But I think without that caution, we were gunning in for Bourdais and Rossi there, so we might have picked up another 2 spots. But huge congrats to Hinch. That's it's cool for him. He's had a bit of an up and down season, especially with Indy. It's nice to see him in dominance there and rock a win here at Iowa. And it was a good points day for us. Obviously, a lot of the guys around us that are fighting at the pointy end had a pretty rough day. So let's go Toronto, PNC Bank car. Hopefully we'll be fast there, and hopefully we can try and get the number 9 back on on the podium.
And Josef Newgarden now trails Scott by 33 in the points, Lee.
And that's a key element there, Katie, because he only lost 12. It was looking a lot more dire than that earlier. But it's all celebrations for James Hinchcliffe. Kev with power. Looking forward to Toronto next weekend. Also looking forward to Saturday night. The Monster Energy Cup Series rolls under the lights as the drivers take on the challenging mile-and-a-half Kentucky Speedway. That's 7:30 Eastern, live on NBCSN. As we welcome you back, our post-race wrap of the Iowa Corn 300. Let's hear from the pole sitter, Kev. He continues that trend.
52 today. I think it was funny when he said yesterday that he'd forgotten that he won the pole last year. But you like the trophy. You wanted the trophy you get with that, right?
Yeah, I like that trophy. I didn't get it last year, so I might have to ask the team if they'd give me it.
He's got so many poles, he can't remember where he's won them. Well, today in the race, you led early on. So let's go to the end of that first stint. You had been passed by Newgarden, but were keeping pace. But I think most of us were surprised that you almost got lapped by the end of the first stint. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, Josef was very good through the traffic there, and Roger called me in 3 times apparently, and I did not hear it, and we lost a lot of time in that space. So, that's where we lost a lot of ground to some of these other guys, but we just simply weren't as good on the first stint once the tyres degraded a bit. And then we were not bad for the rest of the race, trying to claw back positions. I mean, honestly, it was fun racing, man. Like, you were sliding and trying to hold on, you're going too wide. I mean, it was really good package that IndyCar bought here. I really liked it.
There are 955 total passes on track today for Willpower and the IndyCar contingent. And by the way, a pole sitter has still not won this race, Robin.
Well, I just told Graham 955 passes. He made about 130 of them. I don't think you ever driven any harder to finish 7th, did you?
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 stints were sloppy for us. You know, we made some aggressive changes before the race. You know, but at the end, actually, the car came to me pretty nice. That last stint, we were able to move through guys, past Piggott, past Newgarden. You know, I mean, we were able to make our way forward. It was just we were digging ourselves out of a hole. But, you know, there was a lot going on out there today. And the Luther Auto car, as I said, in the end was strong. And, you know, heck, I don't know how many passes I made, but, you know, I got past a ton. I passed a lot of people. There's just stuff coming and going all the time. So typical kind of Iowa race.
Do you enjoy the bumps and the fact that there was like 9 lanes?
Well, I can't say that we were the best over the bumps, you know, today. So we got to continue to work on that. That's kind of been one of our weaknesses, I think. And so today, early in the race, that was the problem. Every time I'd hit a bump, the rear of the car just wanted to go around. But, you know, later in the day, we just took out a bunch of front wing, and she came back to me. I mean, it's got a lot of character. I mean, that's all you got to say. And I think if you know, if Firestone comes back with a tire that's slightly softer, it will make the race. If they don't want to add downforce, then your other solution is to get a tire slightly softer, and it will make the racing even better. But, you know, overall, you know, it was a pretty solid day. I think there was a lot of stuff happening. Enjoyed it.
All right, Lee Diffie, 7th place Graham Rahal had some fun. And you folks stick around because we're going to have some more interviews. Wrap up the Iowa Corn 300. A hell of a race with almost 1,000 passes, folks.
Yeah.
Rich, who's leading that championship? Eli Tomac? Yep, okay. Is he still on a Kawasaki? Come on, you worked the series. Come on. Oh, will they? Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, no worries. I've commentated from Red Bud.
$7:30.
And once we wrap up here in Iowa, of course, it's the Lucas Oil Motocross Red Bull Nation. And I suppose you could say it was a little bit of motocross out there today with all the action with that 955 passes around the short track here at Iowa. And for Simon, you finished 8th today, but you said when you got out of the car, you needed a debrief to find out how this all transpired.
Yeah, I tell you, when you're going that fast around this short oval, it's really hard to understand who's on the lead lap, who's not on the lead lap, who you're fighting for position. So there's a lot of communication with the spotter, with the strategist. Today I think we had good speed. I got stuck in traffic a lot of time, and that was enough to get checked out from Newgarden, who I think was really fast today, and obviously Hinchcliffe, congrats to him. But yeah, I think we had quite a bit of tire degradation, which was tough in traffic, but essentially it was an awesome race. From the cockpit, I had so much fun. It was about setting up people, trying to understand where they're running, where your car is best with the tire degradation, running high, running low, conserving your tires. It really was a lot of thinking, a lot of driving, and to me that's a lot of fun. That's pure racing.
And a lot of smiles, Kevin. Everyone in the top 10 seemed to have a great time.
Well, unfortunately for Ryan Hunter-Reay, his good day starting in 3rd ended up pretty bad with a lot of things going on, including learning Morse code to communicate.
It was a nightmare of a day, absolute nightmare. Yeah, the radio didn't work. I couldn't talk to them. I could hear them. Had a massive vibration that I needed to tell them about. I'm not sure if that resulted in it, but we lost all the camber shims in the left rear, so the left rear was wobbling around like this. I told the team when I stopped something's wrong. They couldn't find it at first, so I went out and did another half a stint with the left rear wobbling around. I nearly crashed about 30 times, so I'm just lucky. I'm okay, and the car's okay, and we got away from it because that was terrible. We definitely had a horrible day. Hopefully Toronto we can go back and get back on top and win that one.
And their street course packages have been good, Lee.
Yeah, that one was tough to take for Ryan Hunter-Reay, but go away, new weekend next weekend. James Hinchcliffe, first time he's ever repeat won at a circuit.
These guys need a better bottle of Loctite, huh?
Yeah,
Jesus.
What's going on with the shims?
Never heard of that before.
How is it possible that a vibration can loosen up a shim nut?
Need more than blue Loctite. Step it up to red.
Man, that's an unexpected podium. Look at those three.
Yep.
It's like, wow.
Sure is. Copy. Look at Spencer. That's huge for him.
Huge load off his shoulders. He's been needing that for a long time. Especially, it's like coming back to a pole at Indy after the, What's wrong with his hand?
All of Paul's faithful little lambs who follow him will be out in force.
Winner, winner, winner.
Huh?
There's 3 winners. Look at the bottles.
And victory lane celebrations are underway for James Hinchcliffe, who scored his very first win of 2018. Meanwhile, Alexander Rossi finished 9th today. Alex, when I asked you if you could describe your day, you said tough might be the best word you could find for it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, really from right at the beginning, I knew that we didn't have the car that we needed, which is a little bit of a mystery because the Napa Andretti Honda was really strong yesterday. It was strong here during the test. We were never out of the top 5, so we'll definitely go back and analyze it. I think all of our cars kind of took a step backwards, so that's unfortunate, no doubt. So it became a race of survival and trying to take away as many points as we could. So the only fortunate thing is other guys had worse days, I guess, and huge congratulations to James. Really happy for him for this one.
And the good news for the 27 team, guys, they hold on to 3rd in points.
Yes, just 41 back from Scott Dixon. Just reflecting the results again, there were just 2 position changes a little further down in the top 10, but we can now confirm that Josef Newgarden, Robert Wickens did finish in the top 5 in kind of a really unusual finish, PT.
Yeah, it really was, and it's a huge day for James. Obviously, coming into Canada, I know from my own experience that when you come in there with a win, it kind of takes the edge off the pressure from the media and just the pressure from yourself, knowing that you can get it done. So it's going to be a great week.
I think just as significant a day for Spencer Pigot
Absolutely.
and Takuma Sato. Huge results to finish on the podium for them. That'll really give them some confidence going into the final phase of this season. And then, as Rossi mentioned, a lot of guys having tough days like Marco Andretti and Scott Dixon.
So there you have it, how the 22 came home here in Iowa, which leads us to the points. What do they look like? 45 was the advantage coming in for Scott Dixon. He only lost 12, and that's going to be key.
Well, on a day where we talked about a steady hand on the tiller with the points lead that Dixon had, he had a tumultuous disaster. Front tires were mismatched. He didn't lose his cool. He didn't crash the car. Still 33 points ahead, Paul.
Yeah, bad day for Hunter Ray, but he's still hanging on to 4th as we look at the happy man Hinch. Let's go to Canada, boys.
This guy seems to rebound from adversity emphatically, and that is illustrated again today. Terrific win for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports and James Hinchcliffe as he heads to his home race. As Jan mentioned a little earlier, coming up next here on NBCSN, it is Lucas Oil Motocross Red Bull National from Red Bud. And the Verizon IndyCar Series, as we've discussed, continues next week on the busy streets of Toronto. Join us next Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern. Toronto is always action-packed, as was today, and an unexpected winner in James Hinchcliffe. We'll see you from north of the border next weekend.